closing today due to the hurricane. Now, in terms of how the conditions have been all morning long here, really on and off. Right now, you can see. Right now, you can see no rain, but again, that's been on and off as morning, just on and off all morning, but nothing too major. Wind gusts as well. Wind gusts as well, not too. Wind gusts as well, not bad right now, but we're hearing reports of wind gusts up to 30 to 40 miles per hour, and a good indication of that is the debris here left in the parking lot. So after I talk about wind gusts, Branson, I'm going to talk about the debris right there.
The debris, it's a stick.
What? There's like some stuff. It wasn't there this morning. Yeah, Matt Samuel, I've been here in Gainesville all morning long, of course, taking safety precautions. That's why we are here more inland as the hurricane hit, and also taking safety precautions. University of Florida's campus closed today due to the hurricane. Now, in terms of the weather conditions all morning, you guys, it's been very on and off. I want to show you right now. Conditions not bad at all. It's not raining here. The wind gusts really not that bad at this current time, but this morning there were reports of wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour, and it kind of shows here in the parking lot with some debris from trees and bushes here in this parking lot. That was not there this morning. Also, there's no flooding here in this parking lot, so that's good. But something I do want to point out that this morning, this parking lot is a hotel parking lot, completely full of cars of people who are evacuating the coastal areas. And another thing I want to point out is off camera, I spoke with a man who works for a power company. He says his entire crew is here. They have been coming out over the past hour or two, getting ready to be deployed to wherever help might be needed now that Idalia has made landfall and is moving through Florida. So again, conditions here in Gainesville inland, not too bad, but if conditions do deteriorate, we will keep you updated with how it goes. Reporting live in Gainesville, I'm Danny Travis, CBS 12 News.
going to be here in this area of Florida's Big Bend. So, of course, we're going to keep monitoring this. For now, we are live in Dixie County. Vic Michelucci, back to you.
So that was a reporter from Jacksonville who's in Dixie County right now reporting on the latest there. You saw some damage to their vehicles as well with the very strong winds that moved through earlier. So hopefully they're staying safe, of course. Likely widespread power outages, of course, in parts of the Big Bend region, north central Florida, as well as even the Tallahassee area, looking at parts of the this Big Bend region of Florida, of course. So the latest on Idalia, winds are down to about 115 miles per hour. Here's the center of the storm. It was located just to the southwest of Madison. That's in Madison County. As of the 9 a.m. advisory, which you got just about 12 minutes ago, it's moving to the northeast at about 18 miles per hour. This is a very quick-moving system. It's being picked up by a trough on the eastern United States, essentially a cold front, and that will push the system into the southeast Georgia area, and then it's the Carolinas looking ahead into tomorrow, and then clearing into the Atlantic by the weekend. So winds right now 110 miles per hour, so Category 2 storm. I want to take note, Hampton County, you're up next for these very strong winds. You want to make sure you stay inside in an interior room of your home, of course, with these very strong winds that are moving into parts of southern Georgia, too. Not only are we dealing with these very strong winds, not only in the Tallahassee, not only to the east of the Tallahassee area, right around Madison County, we still have some very, heavy rainfall moving into Leon County, moving through Leon County, and with heavy rainfall too, approaching parts of Jasper north of I-10. So as this storm moves northeast, we can expect some dry air to filter its way in behind, starting to clear that rain eventually out over the next few hours. But we're still dealing with some of the worst of the weather right now. As we head into this afternoon, conditions will improve. If we get a look at the latest storm reports so far, we have a few wind gust reports. I think the top wind gust report I did see was in Bucell. That was in Taylor or Dixie County. That reported a wind gust of 86 miles per hour. Thunderstorm wind gust right there at the University of Florida, UF, 51 mile per hour gust that was reported through the local storm report. We've had some tornadoes reported, some funnel clouds reported as well within some of these outer bands of the storm. In the outer bands, you can get very quick moving spin-ups. So a funnel cloud was spotted near Kingsland. That's just to the east of I-95 in parts of southeast Georgia. And then wind gust, of course, in parts of southeast Georgia as well. Reports of some heavy rainfall, too. But some of the heaviest rainfall that we're monitoring is in Madison County, where flash flood warning is in effect because of the extreme amount of rain we've seen in quite a short amount of time. Tornado was reported in Avon Park as well. Highlands County EMS reported seeing a tornado moving northbound. So this was actually reported earlier, I believe, this morning at about 1 o'clock in the morning. So that was within these outer bands that moved through. Ellington, that's in the Bradenton area of the Tampa Bay region, reported flood. Trainer Spot reported several homes surrounded by floodwater in the vicinity of Manatee on Piney Point Road. So that's in parts of the Tampa Bay area. So widespreading effects, not only, we don't just talk about the center of any sort of landfalling storm, we talk about the widespread impacts as well. You see the outer bands of the storm producing heavy rainfall, some strong wind gusts, even isolated tornado threats as well. And then towards the center of the storm, that's where we talk about storm surge impacts. And of course, the strongest winds is what we're dealing with right now. Active tornado warning in parts of Pasco County. That's just to the north of the Tampa Bay area. And then this is actually a tornado warning for DeSoto. This is parts of Sarasota, parts of Manatee County, parts of DeSoto, and Hardy County. Not really seeing much on the velocity scan there. I believe this is from the Tampa Bay radar site. Maybe a little bit of rotation right there to the south of State Road 72. That is to the west of Highway 17. So again, this is in the Tampa Bay area, not really in the Gainesville or Tallahassee viewing area, but we see widespreading impacts from this storm, not only near the center of circulation, but even in these outer bands as they move on, as they kind of wrap around the storm. So these are this is a lot of moisture that's kind of pushing in from the system. You can see all that dry air located to the south of the actual center of the storm, but all this moisture is wrapping in, and as it moves on shore, we still have some strong winds associated with this that can quickly spin up these isolated tornadoes, of course, in parts of the Tampa Bay area. So, yeah, that tornado warning, of course, with these outer bands that move on shore. Very heavy rain in a short amount of time. They move very fast. When you get these fast-moving supercells, they could produce isolated spin-ups, of course, too.
Not so much there either.
Yes, I'm not seeing anything right there.
Right.
Maybe something around 301, but yeah, if we can take a look at the actual storm, we have a flash flood warning in effect for a portion of Madison County as well as Taylor County. This includes downtown Perry, which is now starting to ease up the winds a touch, ease up the torrential rainfall. We're still dealing with some pretty strong wind gusts, though, of course, but as this storm continues to move to the northeast, this torrential rainfall threat will move north along with it. Right along I-10, this is a very busy stretch of highway in North Florida. We're talking about a corridor for trucks to move across this, the Florida Panhandle, and of course for vehicles to move too. And it's a very tree. You see a lot of trees on the side of I-10. So whenever we have very strong winds, those trees will likely come down. I went to Florida State University, and I remember in years past when we had some of these tropical systems that trees would bring down power lines and of course block roadways too, which is one of our biggest threats in North Florida around the Big Bend, and even in parts of North Central Florida too, where we see some of the stronger wind gusts in these outer bands. Extreme wind warnings. The wind warning that was issued for the coastline of Taylor County and Dixie County, that has expired now, but we're still dealing with some very strong winds in parts of northern Taylor County, areas of Lafayette County, as well as northern Dixie County until about 10:15 this morning. So we still have about an hour for that extreme wind warning to continue. And then, of course, the strongest winds right now in Madison County, as well as Suwannee County too. Live Oak still seeing some light to moderate rain right now, but we can expect maybe some more rain bands to start to move into within the Live Oak area. So still dealing with heavy rainfall, but the center of the storm, the center of Idalia, located right here. This is where we're dealing with the strongest winds to the north side of it along the outer eye wall. And then in Madison, right along Highway 90, look at these strong wind gusts. We get some velocity scans on that. This is radar estimated, so it might not be at the exact surface because the radar is sending a beam out towards the storm. So within this radar scan, we're seeing some winds right now of about 100 miles per hour. That could be in elevation, but even at the ground, the potential of seeing hurricane force winds, that's hurricane force wind gust, that's gust in excess of 74 miles per hour, is still possible. So very important to take that extreme wind warning seriously as the storm continues to move to the northeast, because these strong winds can, of course, toss around loose items, maybe around your yard, maybe around your home or your neighbor's yard too. Maybe someone didn't secure down their trash can. It's probably flying down the street now. So it's important to stay inside during these extreme wind warnings, not the time to be outside or even venturing outside to maybe take pictures or take video for memories. You want to stay inside during this as it moves to the north. Torrential rainfall, of course. Roadways likely experiencing flooding within this flash flood warning, and likely experiencing flooding, so not the time to be on the roads as well. If you're starting to see water come into your home, maybe head up to a second floor if you can. If you live on a first floor, maybe try to seek refuge somewhere that is above the ground, of course, as we're dealing with very heavy rainfall rates. We're talking about 4 inches of rain, what our radar was estimating, within an hour. So very heavy rainfalls in parts of downtown Madison, and then to the west right there of State Road 53. This is to the east of Spray and to the west of Hanson. If you live to the northwest of parts of downtown Madison, this is in Madison County, you're dealing with very heavy rainfall. Was that 7 inches? I kind of didn't see that. 6 inches right there in just to the south of Jennings, and then 6 inches in parts of Madison County, 5 inches to the south of I-10. So likely seeing flooding in parts of Interstate 10 at this time. So let's zoom in. Yeah, let's see, some roadways maybe. 6 inches right there, just to the west of State Road 53, to the north of State Road 90. So very heavy rain rates, and this is what, within the past hour. Within the past hour, radar estimates of about 6 inches. So extreme rainfall, likely experiencing flash flooding currently, and that is a threat we experience anytime a hurricane moves onshore, of course. This is total rainfall.
This is 24-hour totals.
So that was 24-hour rain totals, and then
let's pull up the. You want to pull up 3 hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, let's pull up the 1 hour.
Let's pull up the 1 hour.
See how much has fallen within the past hour. So okay, so 6 inches. I said that. That was not within the past hour. We're talking 1 to 3 inches within the past hour.
3 inches,
and
yeah.
higher amounts will be possible. Okay, I was wondering that 6 inches was a little high.
Right.
So still dealing with extreme rainfall right now in Madison County. This is why the National Weather Service in Tallahassee issued that flash flood warning. And it's not just the rain. We also have to deal with the wind too. Even in areas that aren't really close to the center of the storm, we still have some of those outer bands rolling through in areas like Gainesville and Tallahassee as well. So maybe if we pull up some of those wind gusts, some of the winds too. Yeah, take a look at that. Center of the storm right about here. And then flash flood warning in effect for parts of northern Taylor County and as well as Madison County, to very heavy rainfall as the center of Idalia is appearing to be almost stationary, but I think that's because the low is the center of the storm is really catching up with the outer wall of it. But here are some of the weather alerts. I believe these are flash flood warnings.
Yeah.
Flash flood warnings for Octahatchee, Belleville, Blue Springs, and Ellaville, Falmouth as well, right to the north of Highway 90. Here's US 41. Here's I-75. Here is Jasper 2. So we're talking about this portion of the area, Belleville, Octahatchee, as well as Blue Springs. Flash flood warning and a flood warning. So this might be, you know what this might be? The Swanee River here.
Yeah, flooding caused by excessive rain, flooding of rivers, creeks, streams. Yeah, this is a flood warning. This could be due to the water.
So rivers. So when we get a lot of rain, is upstream. We could see downstream effects in the way of flooding occurring along the outer banks of a river. So still have to deal with those lingering effects as the heavy rainfall moves into southern Georgia, of course. Let's take a look at Gainesville right now, see what kind of rain is moving through. So we have a heavy rainfall moving into the Gainesville area. A quick burst of rain associated with this outer band. All of this is moving in from the southwest right now as these outer bands move to the southeast. So Gainesville, I-75, right around 441. Some heavy rainfall through Alachua County currently as we're dealing with, right now you're dealing with kind of the outer bands of Idalia as Idalia lifts to the north, of course. We have another band right behind that through High Springs, Trenton, the Trenton area. You'll see a heavy rain band here in just a couple of minutes. All of this is kind of slowly shifting the southeast, but the rain bands themselves are moving in from the southwest. So Chiefland, you're also dealing with, you will likely see some more rain moving in from the coastline as we get all of that moisture swinging in behind Idalia. And of course, very heavy rain in parts of the east coast of Florida, Daytona Beach, into Titusville, down south into parts of Brevard County, and then heavy rainfall now moving into Osceola County and the Treasure Coast, Palm Beaches has been very dry. Starting to see some activity develop in parts of Hendry and into Glades County as well. But of course, the effects of Idalia aren't just felt right at the center, you see these outer bands, heavy squalls move through associated with the storm itself, and then very heavy rainfall, assuming on Leon County and the Tallahassee area here. Still some moderate to heavy rainfall. This is located to the west of Leon County, of course. You know, you have Capitol Circle right there, downtown Tallahassee, Thomasville Road, as well as Tennessee Street, right around the downtown area, Perkins, Lafayette, right around US 27. Here's Capitol Circle right here, still dealing with some heavy rainfall, but we're starting to see some of the lighter effects build in off to the west, of course, as we're starting to see some dry air influencing the west side of Idalia. And here's a look at some of the wind speeds that maybe we can see through our velocity scan from the Tallahassee radar site. Maybe some winds around 20 to 35 miles per hour, maybe even some gust closing in on that tropical storm strength. We did see a wind gust around Leon County region through some weather stem and mesonet sites that were reporting wind gusts as high as about 50 miles per hour, of course. So some pretty strong winds we're still dealing with here. Still have the potential of seeing tropical storm force winds through the next few hours in parts of the Tallahassee area. But the strongest winds, we're talking about the hurricane force wind potential, that's closer to the center of Idalia itself. Still seeing torrential downpours right around Madison County, just to the north of Lee right there. I-10 is located in that yellow line right there. So all of that heavy rainfall now pushing to the north of I-10. The center of the storm closing in on likely Dowling Park right now, as the storm itself is moving to the northeast. Let's see if we can get those wind gust reports, or the wind gusts.
Current winds?
Current winds. Maybe see what kind of winds we're sampling at this time.
Yeah, here we go.
Here across the region. Any other sites did go off online with it, but the last reading on there was a 45-mile-per-hour sustained wind. In Gainesville, 22-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Look at those gusts, about 49 miles per hour.
That's a new high for them.
That's a new high for them at the Gainesville Regional Airport. 47-mile-per-hour wind gust in Lake City. Sustained winds right around 32 miles per hour. Still seeing tropical storm force sustained winds in Perry. Last reading recorded a wind gust of about 59 miles per hour. Earlier, when we were seeing the eye wall, there was a wind gust as high as about 85 miles per hour. So very strong wind gusts there. Even in Tallahassee, wind gust up to 40 miles per hour, sustained at about 30 miles per hour. And even down south into Wakulla County, Crawfordville, into St. Mark's, likely still seeing tropical storm force wind gust. Notice the movement of the wind as well. Out of the north from Tallahassee, but looking towards Gainesville, all of that motion is from the south. So we still have some moisture that's moving into north central Florida, and that's why we're still seeing those outer bands produce squally weather at times. It's kind of on and off heavy rainfall and gusty wind conditions. So stay inside for the next couple of hours. Certainly don't want to head outside for right now, but by this afternoon we will start to clear things out as this storm moves into southeast Georgia and into the Carolinas late tonight and into tomorrow. So the worst of the weather still ongoing right now in parts of Madison County. And, of course, we'll continue to monitor the system as it works its way to the north. So we are at 9:30 right now. In the next 30 minutes, the National Hurricane Center will release their next advisory and updated tracks, how strong the storm is, and, of course, the direction of the storm, too. This was the last image we had from Horseshoe Beach. I don't think this is live anymore.
Yeah, probably isn't. You're right.
So, but look at the last image we had of here. That's likely storm surge right there. Very strong winds, too. Whiteout conditions as well. So pretty.
Our director's coming in with more
strong
information.
Conditions there.
We have two videos, David?
Oh, cool.
Okay, Perry, new video. Perry, can we pull that up, if that's possible? I believe this is video that we had already. We've got Perry or the Orlando transformer going out, so whatever you guys can show. So this is still Perry, and this, of course, is showing, some of the higher winds. Remember, we had a peak wind gust in Perry of 85 miles an hour. And this looks pretty darn close to that. I mean, we're looking at the sheets of rain just hammering the area in the Perry area with landfall, not too far away. The eye wall passed within 10 miles of Perry within the last hour or so. We don't see much rain or flooding on the parking lot, but we are seeing, again, very, very heavy rain in that area. You can see it's hard to see too far due to the reduced visibilities to all the wind and rain in the area. Some of the trees are blowing around. We see a truck sitting there, and the power could be out there. I don't see anything lit up at all. You do see some headlights way in the distance on the left side of your screen there. That, of course, is the the very strong winds across that area right now. And even those headlights have gone out. And this, of course, is Perry at the present time. And we are looking at the Orlando transformer, okay? So we had Orlando go out, a transformer. This is kind of a cycling video. And we did have the transformer going. We're kind of talking about our batteries here. I'm still good with 2 if you want. Yeah, okay, we're good. Okay. And, yeah, so there's the transformer blowing out in the Orlando area, and then the power going out with it, and all the sparks flying, and the wind blowing those sparks can be very scary sometimes when you get that. Sometimes when there's tornadoes, you see numerous blue flashes in the night, but no reports of tornadoes in that vicinity. But again, very, very rough conditions across that area with those 2 videos. Okay, and here's a look at, again, on our cameras right now. We are seeing Lottie. This is Lottie Elementary School up to the north and west of Gainesville, where it's very cloudy and very murky. The camera's a little bit on its side. Here's a look at Hawthorne in eastern Alachua County. A little bit of rain on the camera lens. And then we're looking at High Springs right here. Dark clouds coming down. The trees not really rustling all that much. And thankfully, you still have the UF camera there at Gainesville, where we're seeing dark clouds and a lot of rain and wind there. Some of the cameras at the coast, I believe, are out of service at the present time. Here again is a close-up view of the Hawthorne vicinity. And here's a look at the satellite radar composite, where again we are seeing the storm, which made landfall near Keaton Beach an hour and a half ago, now moving quickly, about ready to move into South Georgia within the next few hours, with very heavy rain in that area, Madison County, and areas further north, further to the south and east. Several bands of quick-hitting downpours and thunderstorms and lightning moving through parts of the Gainesville area, down towards Orlando and as far south as the Cape Coral and Fort Myers and Naples area, all the way south and east to just north of Lake Okeechobee area. So again, this is a far-reaching storm. The diameter between here and the outermost bands is more than 200 miles in certain places, as again we continue to track it in the north and east. Here again is that latest advisory. We're getting updates every hour, so we'll be getting a 10 o'clock advisory in soon, in about 26 minutes or so. Moving north-northeast, 18, 20 miles south-southwest of Madison, Florida. Top winds now down to 110. Remember, earlier today, it briefly reached Category 4 status when it was in the northeast Gulf of Mexico with 130-mile-an-hour winds, and then just before it made landfall, it did get knocked down to a Category 3. And now that it's on land, we're going to see every hour those winds coming down a little bit and the pressure rising there as we continue to see a steady weakening of Hurricane Idalia as, again, it quickly moves northeast. And right there where that little clear area is, a little notch, that is, again, where the center is, once again, 20 miles south-southwest of Madison, Florida. Here's that forecast track. It's also 45 miles south-southwest of Valdosta, Georgia. And we are looking at it moving off to the north and northeast. It'll be in Georgia by probably noontime, it looks like, if not earlier, with 100-mile-an-hour winds, Cat 2. Then it weakens to tropical storm status later tonight and early Thursday morning in southern sections of South Carolina. And it just kind of meanders back and forth through the Atlantic in the days ahead as we go into the late weekend and also the early week period. Now, the good thing about this was I believe it was pretty well forecast. You might remember a week or so ago we were talking about a system in the Pacific. It moved on shore in Central America. It was interacting with land for a while, but then it moved into the Northwest Caribbean. And then it took advantage of all the very, very warm water temperatures here, which are as high as 88 just off our coast here, near record high water temperatures through a deep layer of the ocean, the tropical heat potential. So that's the fuel you need for a hurricane to intensify, that latent heat of condensation. That's the fuel or feed that a storm needs. And also the wind shear lightened up. You can see the twisting and turning of winds was much lower along its path here over the last few days. Now the wind shear will increase over the storm. That will also add to its weakening. We still, again, have the hurricane warning in effect from south of Tampa Bay near Sarasota, up there through Pine Ridge, Cedar Key, Horseshoe Beach, Steinhatchee River area, Sopchoppy, hurricane warning in effect. Tropical storm warning for areas further south, and then for the east coast of Florida, from Brevard County north up there through St. Augustine and Jacksonville, and all the way up into parts of Georgia and also South Carolina. So wide-reaching impacts. We still have the tornado watch until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Cross your fingers. Fortunately, so far, we have not had any reports of tornadoes, and really no tornado warnings, I believe, in our area here in Tallahassee, the Gainesville vicinity. Not yet anyway. Doesn't mean they can't happen. I mean, there are some tornado warnings in some of the bands down across the area south and east of Tampa. So some of these bands could still pop up tornadoes as we go through the next several hours ago. So if a tornado warning goes out, here's some tornado safety. You want to go inside, stay indoors, the lowest floor, the center of a house, avoid windows. If you're stuck outside, drive to a sturdy shelter, find lower ground, protect your head, crouch as low as possible, cover your head with a helmet if you can do that. And I know it's tough if you're in a mobile home, maybe there's no sturdy shelter nearby, but if at all possible, go to a sturdy shelter. You really, at this point, you want to have left your mobile home and be in one of those sturdy shelters. Severe storm potential, scattered severe storms in yellow, isolated severe storms in the dark green, and just a general threat, Tallahassee West. So Tallahassee West, you're getting some wind and rain. You've had wind gusts into the 40s today, but so far it's been pretty mild compared to areas just a county or two off towards your east. So whenever we have this slight risk, you can get scattered severe storms. That means perhaps 1 or 2 tornadoes, reports of strong winds with potential wind damage, and hail, not so much in a tropical landfalling system. Flood watch in effect through tonight for all of the area from Tallahassee east to the Alachua County area, then further east. There is not a flood watch as you get further away from the system. This flood watch includes Tallahassee, Monticello, Perry. You're getting some of the worst rain right now. Some areas have had up to 6 inches. High Springs, Gainesville, under that flood watch. Jasper and Live Oak, Chiefland, Horseshoe Beach, and also the Cedar Key vicinity. Additional rainfall to come. Well, here we go from now until Saturday, actually. We see that highest total right up there along where that eye wall will be passing, which could be an additional 5 to 7 inches. But for most of the area, we're looking at in yellow and orange and perhaps moderate red, anywhere from 2 to 5 inches will be the additional rainfall total. Good news here is this isn't some storm that creeps along and gives you 15 to 25 inches of rain over a large area. It is moving along fast enough so that some of these rain bands that come through pretty quick, all right? And we don't see a whole lot of rain out there. So we're looking at, what is this now? Can you repeat that? This is Perry again. This is, I believe, a video we had earlier. Is this live? Yeah, this is live. Looks like we have one of the a TV station out there with a camera parked, and we're looking at some of the bushes blowing around there a little bit. I see, despite all the gusty winds there, fortunately the awning of the gas station is still intact. Sometimes you see in hurricanes, this dramatic video of gas station awnings blowing over, but the winds were not strong enough there to do that. We see the stop sign there on the right side of your screen. It's blown over a little bit. Maybe it's 20 degrees off the vertical. We are seeing, I don't know whether the stop sign was blown by the wind or not, but it is off to the side a little bit. And some water on the roadways, but nothing really, no real major flooding in this area. Some puddles. You can see, of course, it is raining at a moderate clip with the wind blowing the rain around a little bit. The gas station there in the distance, there's some kind of structure where the door is kind of flapping a little bit. Yeah, opening and closing there due to that wind, should be closed. And there is a little bit of traffic here in Perry. Perry is a mid-sized town, and we are seeing folks that are out there. Hopefully they've got essential duties, and they're not just driving around for fun. And every once in a while, the guy is wiping the camera lens This is an affiliate from WPLG that is out there today. So, Perry, you did have some of the highest winds we've seen so far, up to 85 miles an hour. But right now, we are not seeing the conditions too bad because the worst weather is north and east now of the Perry area. And in Perry, you can see an additional, let's say, 2 to 5 inches of rain before this system is over with lighter rains off towards the east here. As you get further from the center, towards east of Gainesville, not a whole lot, mostly 1 to 2 inches, if that. So here's a look at the wind gust forecast. We're going to go up to the present time, which would be after 9 a.m. Here's a look at 10 a.m. coming up shortly. Clara, 48, Chiefland, Augusta, 43, Lake City, 66, Gainesville, 46. Highest wind gust we've seen in Gainesville has been in the upper 40s. I think it was 49 miles an hour. So at 10, perhaps similar gusts there. And these are just low-end tropical storm force. So good news for Alachua County is you're really missing the hurricane force winds. That is good. We go ahead to 11 o'clock this morning. Gainesville at 31, Lake City at 61, Cedar Key 41. Let's go ahead to 1 p.m. this afternoon. Winds all areas now gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour as the center crosses the Florida-Georgia line moving towards Valdosta. 3 p.m., winds gusting between 25 and 35 miles an hour. Here's a look at 5 p.m. For those of you that are at work and you got to come home, well, winds gusting 20 to 30, and by then the sun will be out, I think, for a good part of the area, especially from Gainesville west and south. And then by 7 p.m., winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. So a rapid reduction in the wind speed and also the rainfall as we go through the afternoon, especially the late afternoon and on into the evening hours. And Thursday, forget about it, they're 5 to 15 miles an hour, and that is about it. This is another look here. I think we're looking at different models because this is showing higher. Mayo at 79, Live Oak. This is early this morning, so we're going to go ahead to the future here.
Oh, well, we're going to...
Yeah. Well, here's radar. That's fine. Okay. So
I have some updated power outage numbers, too.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Taylor County, 10,000 customers are out. That's about 75% of the county. Suwannee, about 20,000 customers out. That's about 80%.
That's a lot of power
So
outages.
that's where we're seeing kind of some of the strongest winds that were moving through earlier. That's where the extreme wind warnings were as well. And then also in Madison County, this is also where we're seeing some of the heaviest rainfall right now. Madison County, about 7,000 customers out. That's 66% of the county. And then Dixie County, this is the county that is to the south of Taylor County, where landfall was. Dixie County had about 7,000 customers out. Now this is about 70% of the county. And then looking towards the Tallahassee area, Leon County, about 50,000 customers are out. That's about 40% of the county. If you're in Wakulla County, that's the county to the south of Leon and south of Tallahassee. This includes Crawfordville, St. Marks, Sopchoppy. This is also about 12,000 customers out. That's 70% of the county. Gadsden County, 2,000 customers are out at this time. The county nearest to Tallahassee that has not seen as many power outages has been Liberty County. Only about 1% is out of power. And then towards the Gainesville area, Alachua County, about 9,000 customers are out. That's about 7% of the entire county. Gilchrist County, about 4,000 customers are out. It's about 50% of the county. And in Hamilton County, this is in North Florida near Jasper, this is about 2,000 customers are out. That's almost 30% of the county. And in Levy County, this is includes areas like Chiefland, Cedar Key. About 11,000 customers are out, almost 50% of the county. So we're still monitoring, of course, Hurricane Idalia. We'll get a latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center at about in the next 15 minutes. Of course, the center of the storm still just over, likely just to the south right now of Madison County, kind of over the three corners of Suwannee County and Madison County, as well as I'm losing my mind on the counties right now. Hampton County up there near the Jasper area, Hamilton County, excuse me, near the Jasper area. But of course, some of the heaviest rainfall still right over portions of northwest, northeast Madison County, and also in portions of western Hamilton County as well. This is all moving to the north, right along I-75, the Valdosta area, likely under a flash flood warning at this time as well. I'll zoom in on that as we get the latest on some of our current alerts that are still being issued for the area. We'll bring up the latest here on that. Likely a flash flood warning in effect for portions of Brooks County and Loudoun's County. That is in southern Georgia. So we're talking Georgia now, not North Florida, Northeast Florida, North Central Florida, or the Big Bend region. Dasher, Valdosta, this is right along I-75. We're seeing torrential downpours moving in. This is all moving in from the south to the north side of the center of the storm, of course. And I-75, this is a big corridor, big commuter corridor, as well as a big corridor for truck routes too, right over I-75 to the north of the Florida-Georgia border. This is not the time to be heading northbound on 75, as we're seeing some of the strongest winds and the heaviest rainfall move into the region. This is a look at the western portion of Hamilton County, right to the south, right to the west of Jennings, some heavy rainfall and likely some strong wind gusts too, as the northern side of Idalia's eye wall moves up. So the storm is weakening. As it moves on shore and it moves into southeast Georgia, we can expect the storm to gradually weaken. The worst of the weather still ongoing now, but by this afternoon, we'll start to clear things out. Look at all that dry air working into parts of the southern portion of the actual storm itself. All of that rain flipped its side to the north side of the system, and we're still monitoring heavy rainfall in parts of southern Georgia, through the Thomasville area, Valdosta, up towards portions of central Georgia too. Those outer bands now impacting a portion of northeast Florida as well, and we're still seeing some heavy rainfall in parts of the St. Marks, Tallahassee, Leon County area, but the heaviest rainfall that we're monitoring on radar at this time is still in parts of North Florida into Madison and Hamilton County and heading towards the Valdosta area too. So if we take a look at really the Gainesville area, let's zoom in and see what kind of rain and wind we're seeing. Here's a look at some of the squally weather right over the downtown Gainesville. 441 likely right over here, I-75. So between the two, still seeing some moderate to heavy rainfall. And then towards just south of the High Springs area over Newberry, starting to see some moderate rainfall moving in. This is all moving from Levy County and then into a portion of Alachua County. And then eventually we'll head towards Starkly, Butler, and then towards northeast Florida as these outer bands wrap around. Luckily, we haven't had any sort of tornado alerts issued within these outer bands. Of course, the threat is still there. We're still under a tornado watch, but the worst of the weather appears to be just strong wind gusts at times and heavy rainfall too, with the heaviest rainfall still in parts of the Tallahassee, Big Bend region and into portions of southern Georgia, right along I-75. And eventually all that squally weather will move into the southeast Georgia and the Carolinas too. Still dry in the low country of South Carolina. Here's a look about Charleston right there. They're going to start to see some heavy rain bands move into their region over the next few hours. And then this will eventually become maybe a weak hurricane or a tropical storm over the low country of South Carolina, where some of the worst weather will likely impact them late tonight and into early tomorrow morning. Some heavy rainfall in even Savannah, and then into right along over I-95. Here's a look at Interstate 16. Interstate 520 is there. Heavy rainfall between the two, and still monitoring some of that heavy rainfall in parts of northern Florida. The heaviest rainfall accumulation, though, is still ongoing in Madison County, Hamilton County, and into southern Georgia. We're talking about Loudoun County as well as Brooks County, too. So we're going to head over to Savannah reporter. They're giving a little update. Ryan Morado is giving an update about what's happening in the Savannah area. If we can take his live shot right now.
All right, you should have it.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Mirando in Savannah, Georgia. We're out here right now on River Street where we've been getting bands of heavy on and off rain and some gusty winds that have been pushing through as Idalia gets closer to the southeastern Georgia coast. Now, we were awoken this morning with some loud alarms going off on our phones from a hurricane warning being in effect and also a storm surge warning. What this means is the winds will be over 74 miles per hour, potentially gusting up to 100, and there is also a threat for life-threatening storm surge, potentially up to 6 feet, inundating out above the water as Idalia draws closer here in Savannah. Also, what we're watching for is the threat for some tornadoes. We did have some tornado warnings issued this morning. Since we're on the right side of that center of circulation, there's a little bit of some extra spin in the atmosphere. Reporting in Savannah, I'm Ryan Mirando.
So that was Ryan Murado reporting from Savannah. You could see the bridge behind him there. Some heavy rainfall, not seeing any sort of surge behind him as well. So that was a live report from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, for that. I believe Michael has some wind reports.
Yeah, I got some wind reports from the National Weather Service website in Tallahassee, and some of the peak gusts here. Horseshoe Beach, 81 mile an hour wind gusts earlier today, Cross City at 40. In Lafayette County, in Mayo, we had a 73 mile an hour wind gust earlier today. Dixie County at Old Town Elementary, 59 miles an hour. Leon County at Killian Estates, a 53 mile an hour wind gust reported. Madison County at the high school, 57. Taylor County, Buchel Junction, 85 miles an hour. In Keaton Beach, 77. Remember, Keaton Beach was where Idalia made landfall a few hours ago. And in Wakulla County at the St. Mark's Lighthouse, a 58 mile an hour wind gust. And at Appalachie Bay, a wind gust of 60 miles per hour. So far, just a few wind gusts to minimal Category 1 hurricane status. That doesn't mean there haven't been other areas with wind gusts a lot higher, but this kind of gives you an indication that we have seen winds gusting to hurricane force right along where this track has been as we continue to watch it moving off to the north and northeast. We still have this flash flood warning in effect for parts of the area, and in purple we've got those extreme wind warnings in effect through the late morning hours. So up there through Madison County and further south and west Taylor County, we've got that the flash flood warning in effect, and this is overlapped by the extreme wind warning in that area. Sewanee County, we've got a wind warning in effect as well. So there's a flash flood warning. Brooks, Lowndes County, that's part of Georgia now, so that's been extended north and east. But further off to the south in Florida, Madison and Taylor County, the flash flood warning in effect until noon today. This includes Greenville, Madison, and also the Perry area. And we can kind of update of the actual rain totals we've had.
Yeah, let's go pull that up.
Yeah, all right. Because we have seen totals as the last check up to about 5 to 6 inches, and we're kind of zooming into that area up there. We got a little, I guess, brownish area there along and to the northeast of I-10, and that is where the heaviest rain is, hence that flash flood warning. And even another call. Yeah, Madison, we've had over 6 inches in places. That's 7.3 now. So let's zoom in real close to Madison and see what towns and streets are being impacted in that area. And 6 further south and west. So 90 being impacted. This area is seeing more than 7 inches in places. Route 53, 90, 145, likely seeing about 6 inches of rain. So keep in mind where you've had all this rain in a short amount of time, there's likely to be some flooded streets, some washed out streets. We always tell you, if you're driving around and you come upon a big puddle and you don't know how deep it is, turn around, don't drown. Just imagine a couple of feet of rushing water can actually rush your car away. And a lot of deaths from floods do occur, most of them occur due to people in automobiles. So not a good situation to be in at all. And in this yellow area, we are seeing rain totals most likely in the 4 to 6 inch range. Hence, again, that flash flood warning in effect until noon today for Madison County and areas further on down towards the south and the west. And again, there's its center right there, near Madison and Perry, in between both towns, moving off to the north and northeast, quickly moving into Georgia. The heaviest rain and the northern extent of the what we call the left of the eye wall is now about ready to move into southern Georgia. Valdosta getting hard hit right now. You know, some of you watching us from Tallahassee, maybe watching us in South Georgia right now. We also see these extreme wind warnings until 10:15, numerous. First off, Madison and Taylor County, in effect until 11:15. Lee and also Madison, the towns being impacted there. Further off to the south and east, we see other extreme wind warnings as well. We see one in effect for the Savannah County area, including Live Oak. We also see warnings further off to the south and west, and this includes Dixie, Lafayette, and Taylor County until 10:15 this morning. And right now is 9:56. So some of these wind warnings will probably be expiring within the next 30 minutes or so. And Gainesville area, a little bit of rain, not a whole lot here. Quick moving bands, a downpour for a little while, then it leaves. So Gainesville, you had a downpour move through. It's now moving to the east of town, moving up towards Waldo and the Stark area. A big gap, and then maybe more rain coming in. Whether this rotates through Gainesville, it remains to be seen. But you're getting rain pretty hard now in Newberry, up there towards High Springs, moving over I-75. The band's moving southwest and northeast, probably at about 40 miles an hour or higher. So fortunately, that will reduce the flood threat for those of you that are in the Gainesville vicinity. Further off towards the north, we've got Union and Bradford counties. A pretty good amount of rain stretching through most of Bradford County at the present time, including Brooker and Stark and the Keystone Heights area. Further to the north, this band moving up towards Sanderson, St. George, and eventually moving into southern sections of Georgia. So again, the real heavy rain right now off to the north and east where that eye is. But once again, these rain bands extend at least a couple hundred miles from the center, from the eye of Idalia as it moves off to the east. Southern Georgia, Savannah getting hammered right now. Also areas down towards Daytona Beach. We showed you a video earlier of Orlando where we do see a flood alert in this area just to the south. Let's zoom in on this, and we can see Kissimmee, Point Siena. We do see a flood warning in effect in Osceola County until 11:15 this morning. Kissimmee, Point Siena, and St. Cloud. It's out of our viewing area, but it kind of shows you the wide reach of Hurricane Idalia as it moves to the north and east. And some pretty strong squall lines here. Fort Myers, southeast of Tampa. We did see some tornado warnings in this area earlier. So even though you might be a couple hundred miles southeast of the center, there is that possibility of some isolated spin-up tornadoes. We haven't had any so far yet here, which is a little bit surprising because we were in the northeast quadrant as the hurricane made landfall a little bit earlier today. Here's some of the total rainfall. Again, far from the system. Some of the outer feeder bands came in, and we can see rain totals here probably in excess of 6 inches or more, to 8.9, 10 inches down there south and east of Tampa.
12 hours.
In the last 12 hours. So this is where the heaviest rain has been. And this is, you know, a couple hundred miles east of where the hurricane was. Remember, it was well out east and west of Tampa during the late night and also the early morning hours. And so, Jennifer's got some more information.
And Michael, we're coming up on 10 o'clock now. We'll get an update from the National Hurricane Center in about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
but I want to pull this up here. Here's a view from the International Space Station of what Idalia looked like. Or this is live, maybe?
Live recorded? Who knows?
Maybe it's live recorded. But this was probably what it looked like over the Gulf of Mexico on approach to North Florida. Just very impressive. It looks really large from the
you're way up,
space
and all of a sudden it's
station.
taken up your whole view here. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a live look. You can actually see part of the International Space Station there as Idalia approached landfall. And here's a wider look too. Yes, this was actually recorded yesterday. So really impressive images of Idalia.
The bands coming out from it.
Yes.
You know, at this point, if this was yesterday, maybe the eye wasn't quite visible yet. We only saw the eye visible later yesterday as it became a major hurricane. But here again, in that perspective, you can see the dense overcast in the middle and the spiral. Very pretty meteorologically, fascinating, that's for sure. All right.
So we now have the 10 a.m. advisory out.
Yeah, here we go. 10 o'clock advisory. They come out every hour, moving north-northeast at 18. And again, as anticipated, we're seeing this steady weakening trend. Winds are now down another 5 to sustained 105 miles an hour. So we went from a Category 4 early this morning to a Category 3 when it landfall, now down to a Category 2 with top winds of 105. Still, though, gusts to 160, most likely over the water. Pressure now up to 964 millibars. So we've seen about a 22 millibar increase in the pressure. When the pressure rises, that indicates a weakening storm. And Idalia is now 5 miles east-northeast of Madison, Florida. Continue to move off towards the Georgia area. Again, we'll be crossing the state line within the next few hours, probably around lunchtime, give or take a little bit here or there. But again, a steady weakening trend on Idalia at the present time. Let's see if we can't go right towards Madison, where I guess the center, 5 miles from Madison. So we're going to zoom in here real quick. And there you go. There's Madison. And right in this area, this is where the center is. And just to the, from the lowest pressure south and east, there is no rain, a wide area of dryness, okay? Indicating perhaps, you could say maybe a loose eye here. There's no rain, but it's probably still mostly cloudy in this area with lighter winds. But this shows you that the worst weather is to the north, northwest, and west of the hurricane, with some outer bands continuing to wrap around hundreds of miles, or 100 or 200 miles to the south and southwest. So there again, the eye of Hurricane Idalia with top winds of 105 miles per hour. We've got another camera at Steinhatchee Live.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I had an update from Loudoun County. An emergency manager there said that they have widespread down trees, and this is in southern Georgia. That goes to the kind of the Valdosta area as well. First responders working on that. Of course, there's a lot of down trees and likely a lot of heavy rainfall and flooding, of course.
Yes, down trees and storm surge. So this is in, where is this again? This is Steinhatchee, right just to the southeast of where it made landfall. And this is what storm surge looks like, everybody. This is the water from the Gulf of Mexico being pushed onto roadways and probably some properties. You can see at least a few feet there, if not more, going a third of the way up the stop sign there, which is faced away from us. We've got some, it looks like some power line. Perhaps some of the lines are up, but those lines are probably extending down towards the ground, and they're anchored there anyway. But this is the storm surge continuing to push in. And even though Idalia is now moving further and further inland, the counterclockwise flow is bringing a westerly flow to the Gulf of Mexico, still pushing the water onto the coast, all right? Not as much as the right front quadrant, but nevertheless, we are seeing a pretty good storm surge here in the Steinhatchee area of Florida there, right along the Taylor and Dixie County line. So gives you an indication of what some of the worst weather was in this part of the area. Jennifer, we can go over this, maybe the storm reports. Perhaps we have some new ones up there. It's, yeah, one of the palette items there. Let's see if we got any additional storm reports. So we'll run them down anyway. I think they're coming in more and more, which is good. Near Panama City, a thunderstorm wind gust of 45 miles an hour, Magnolia Beach. This is Mariana Municipal Airport, a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. So just minimal tropical storm force. Here's a report at UF of a 51-mile-an-hour wind gust right there in the Gainesville area. And we see other storm reports. Palatka, 47 miles an hour, just off to the east. Non-thunderstorm wind gust in Mayport of 46. So none of these are really, they're not hurricane force, but nevertheless, we did show you, I did talk about hurricane wind reports earlier today. Yeah. So numerous reports, and you can see a couple of those, one in northeast Florida, southeast Georgia, and one east of Tampa, of reported tornadoes, not necessarily official reports, not official tornadoes yet. So the tornado watch still in effect.
It has been canceled for Taylor, Lafayette County, Dixie County, as well as coastal waters too. Now it's still in effect for the Tallahassee viewing area for portions of southern Georgia, near Loudoun County, as well as Madison, Florida. That will still continue.
Okay, well, that's good, yeah. So
and we have some reports of winds, 53-mile-per-hour wind gust at White Fence, station in southeast Leon County. And then we also have some other wind reports. This is from Madison County High School, the weather STEM site. So it might be elevated. That reported a wind gust of 70 miles per hour. So that might be at a higher elevation. And in Madison County, another weather STEM site at the Madison County Emergency Operations Center reported a wind gust of 62 miles per hour. And also earlier about an hour or so ago, Madison County also reported a wind gust of 67 miles per hour. So that's where some of the strongest winds have been.
Right along and right where that eye wall has been moving across.
You can see, conditions are improving.
They are.
On the southern coast, on the Big Bend coast, including Taylor County, Dixie County, Levy County as well. We're starting to see some of the rain decreasing in areas like Perry and even southern Madison County, Suwannee County as well. So the storm finally lifting itself approaching the Florida-Georgia border and into Georgia now.
Right, they were getting hammered just an hour or two ago in
Yes.
Perry. So yeah, the clearing out. I mean, probably cloudy, but at least the rain has definitely lightened up, even stopped for a period of time with just a little bit of dry air coming in. I mean, there'll be more lighter areas of rain coming in through the late morning and the early afternoon, but definitely the heavy rain lifting north now up towards mostly South Georgia, Valdosta area, where you've got that flash flood warning effect. Oh, tornado warning here. Yeah,
this
okay.
This is in Georgia. This is near the Savannah area. So Effingham County, Liberty County, Chatham County. This is a tornado warning that was issued for them there. So, you know, these outer bands of the storm can produce quick spin-ups. This is the low country in the of South Carolina and Georgia that we're starting to see some of those heavy rain bands move in. Eventually, Idalia will move into southeast Georgia and the Carolinas, likely as a hurricane or a tropical storm by that point. So it is weakening as it moves inland. And here's another look. There was a live look right there of a car driving through.
I think that's the Steinhatchee
Yeah.
Earlier, yeah. I mean, you know, the guy's in a truck, you know, you don't want to drive through it. I mean, it looks like he's high enough. Who's coming? So this is a passenger vehicle. That is not, that's a no-no. You don't want to drive through that.
Hopefully they're emergency operation people, but still, it might be salt water if it's surge. So.
Yeah, you know, when you're driving through, if it's surge, yeah, you salt water, so you might prematurely be rusting your car. And you never know where the air intake for the engine is, if it's on top. You know, when you're driving through there, if you get water into your air intake, you could cause major damage to your engine.
And not only that, you don't know what's underneath the water. There could be down power lines. There could be, you know, trees in the road that you can't see if it's deep enough, and also potholes and deeper holes as well. So certainly pretty dangerous conditions if you're trying to head on the roadways.
You know, you see it all the time. You have people drive through the water because they don't want to turn around. They want to get to where they're going, and sometimes it causes catastrophe. We did see that one guy, obviously a photographer, setting up his sticks there.
And if you live if you were in order to evacuate, I would recommend waiting until emergency crews or county officials give you the okay to go back to seeing your area. There might be washed up roads, there might be debris on the roadways, so it might not be it might be a dangerous situation to go back to your home if you did evacuate from it. So stay in place. We're still dealing with very gusty conditions across parts of North Florida, even some very strong wind conditions in parts of southern Georgia. We're talking about the Valdosta area, into portions of the I-75 corridor there, around Lake Park, still tracking some very heavy rainfall. Of course, the center of the storm still located right to the southeast of the Madison area. We have a dry pocket associated with that kind of inner eye wall, I'd say by now, as some lighter rain now moving into portions of Lafayette County and even into Suwannee County too. Still some outer rain bands moving towards the First Coast as well, near the Jacksonville area. Even in Leon County, we still have some heavy rainfall across northern portions of Leon County. There's a look at I-10. Capitol Circle will be right here, downtown Tallahassee. Down south towards Crawfordville Road and then into the St. Mark's area, still tracking some light rainfall too. Now the Tallahassee rate. You can see right here, here's US 27 going through downtown Tallahassee, still monitoring some moderate to heavy rainfall right around the I-10 corridor. So it's certainly not the time to be out on the roadways. If you don't have to be out on the roadways, there might be some down tree activity. We had wind gusts as high as about 50 miles per hour, even in the Tallahassee area. And then closing in on Alachua County near Gainesville, here's a current look at radar. Some heavy squalls moving through Waldo, Hawthorne right there. Some heavy squalls. Now, the actual squall lines themselves are moving towards the east, but the direction of the rainfall is moving in from the southwest. So some pretty heavy rainfall currently, even some gusty winds as well moving through the Gainesville area and Alachua County, and still monitoring some very heavy rainfall moving towards Williston too. Here's a look at US 41, also connects to 27 as well, kind of that junction as you're approaching US 27. This is all to the west of I-95 and to the east of US 19 in Levy County. So Cedar Key, some lighter rain activity. Of course, they're still likely dealing with some surge there as we still have an onshore wind flow moving in behind Idalia. As that onshore wind flow moves in, it can still push that water onto the coastline, so there's still the threat for some surge. And of course, we still have elevated tides across the Gulf Coast thanks to the, of course, full moon phase ongoing right now. So have some alerts in place. This extreme wind warning still in effect likely until about 10:15, so only a couple more minutes. These extreme wind warnings, I don't think we're dealing with extreme wind at this time, so if you did stay in your safe place through the extent of the storm, you can come out in these areas. That includes portions of Dixie County, that includes portions of Dixie County, Lafayette County, Suwannee County as well as Taylor County too. Heaviest rainfall, strongest winds still to the north side of the system in the Valdosta area, southern Georgia too. And notice in Tallahassee, the Tallahassee area, as well as Taylor County too, that wind is coming in from the north. So all that wind is kind of pushing from the north, whereas on the other side of the system near Alachua County, Gainesville, High Springs, Lake City, all that wind's coming in from the south. And this is also why we're starting to see some dry air working its way in. So as the north air moves in behind the system, it's going to start to bring in some of that drier air with it, which will help clear us out heading into the next few hours. But then all that moisture coming in from the south is producing some of the squally weather across the Florida peninsula, and that does include Alachua County and even the Gainesville area. We're still tracking some outer bands as well. And even in ports of West Florida and Southwest Florida, the squally weather is moving onshore near the Fort Myers area, I-75 into Central Florida. Heavy rainfall within these outer bands, so it's really some of that onshore moisture associated with the lingering effects of Idalia that we're still tracking for heavy rainfall and even an isolated tornado threat across Central Florida. Our tornado threat here has pretty much ended for parts of the Tallahassee area. I'll zoom on out here. Right here. Has ended for parts of the Big Bend. Tallahassee, no longer under, Tallahassee likely wasn't under a tornado watch, but Taylor County not under tornado watch, Lafayette County not under tornado watch, or Dixie County, but we're still under it for portions of the Gainesville viewing area. Still have some conditions that could produce maybe an isolated spin up, but overall that threat is starting to decrease at this time as Idalia moves to the north. So here's the latest on Hurricane Idalia right there. As of the 10 o'clock advisory, we get hourly updates now from the National Hurricane Center as this maintains its strength and moves over land, north-northeast about 18 miles per hour. This is a fast-moving storm. In and out very quickly, but we have to deal with the very strong winds and the heavy rainfall and the surge associated with it. Last year, in Southwest Florida with Hurricane Ian, it was a slow-moving storm, so it was almost hours of dealing with the heavy rainfall, the tornado threat, as well as the surge, too. Here, we're starting to clear things out in coastal Big Bend region. Still have that onshore wind flow in the surge, though. Winds right there of 105 miles per hour. The storm will continue to weaken, moving into southeast Georgia and the Carolinas, too. Still a fairly strong storm, though. The top wind gust reported with it was at about 160 miles per hour. That was a couple hours ago when it was over the northern Gulf Coast. Here's the latest look right now at rainfall accumulation in parts of North Florida within the past hour. The heaviest rainfall, of course, was over Madison County. Here's a look at rainfall totals in Madison County. Almost 9 inches of rain to the northwest portion of, to the northern side of Madison County. That's to the north of I-10. Some extreme rainfall over the past few hours associated with Idalia, of course, and we'll still see some of the heaviest rainfall moving into southern Georgia over the next few hours as Idalia lifts its way to the north. Let's take a look at some of the wind gusts that we're still reporting across North Florida, North Central Florida, and the Big Bend. Tallahassee, latest report was 28 mile per hour sustained winds. In the Tallahassee area, wind gusts have been as high as 39 miles per hour. In Perry, the last reading was about 37 mile per hour sustained winds, as high as a 54 mile per hour wind gust. And then even in Gainesville, we had a wind gust of 44 miles per hour reported, and as high as 32 mile per hour wind gusts in the Crystal River area, 49 mile per hour wind gusts in Lake City. And I think our Cedar Key site is still hanging on there, not reporting any wind gust, but a sustained wind right now of 40 miles per hour. It's reporting there, 26 mile per hour wind gust in Panama City with a 32 mile per hour wind gust right there in Apalachicola. So still monitoring Hurricane Idalia right now as it moves inland, eventually heading towards the Carolinas, where it's going to spread its heavy rainfall and its gusty winds. Over the next few hours, we'll begin to clear things up here in north central Florida and the Big Bend region too. Here's a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. We'll track this back to current times right now. So again, the center of the storm right over Madison County. So over the next hour or so, over the next 30 minutes to the next hour, we'll see the center of Idalia move into southern Georgia. So as we take a look at some of the outer bands, still impacting parts of the Gainesville area through about 10:30, and then still going to see some, on and off rain associated with these outer bands, some on and off gusty showers essentially moving in through about through about lunchtime today. Notice clearing conditions in portions of Tallahassee, still breezy to even gusty at times too. But some of the clouds will begin to clear out through the mid-afternoon in Tallahassee down into portions of Taylor and Dixie County. And then some of that rain activity will begin to clear out through about 3 o'clock today as the center of Idalia moves into parts of southeast Georgia and into the Carolinas as well. A very quick-moving system will be out of our way here by the evening hours as we finally watch Idalia move out of our viewing area. Still have hurricane warnings in effect for a portion of north central Florida and the Big Bend. Tropical storm warning still in effect for the first coast of Florida down into the Space Coast near Daytona, inland towards Orlando too. And we're still monitoring the threat for heavy rainfall in Madison County and into southwest Georgia. We're talking about Loudons County. New flood warning was just issued as well for a portion of southern Georgia and for a portion of the Tallahassee viewing area too. Let's get the latest on this flash flood warning. It's been issued for Brooks, Jefferson, Loudons, and Thomas counties until Jefferson County. That includes Monticello over towards I-10. Also monitoring heavy rainfall in southern Georgia too. So extreme rainfall, heavy rainfall amounts. We're tracking maybe 1 to 3 inches of accumulation in parts of the Jefferson County, southern Georgia area, with additional amounts possible over the next hour or so. We're still monitoring heavy rainfall. Here's the center of Idalia right here. So heavy rainfall to the north side of it, all that moisture spread to the north and west side of the system, and we're still tracking the threat for heavy rainfall across portion of northern Florida and southern Georgia through the next few hours. Do we have more wind gusts?
Well, I've got some information here, Jennifer, a combination of stuff here. As I'll step in the shot here to talk a little bit about this. So for the peak wind gusts in Gainesville, 49 miles an hour, Tallahassee at 46, and I do have some new power outage numbers county by county. So the entire state of Florida, there's 260,000 customer accounts without power. Suwannee County, 96% of customers without power. That is extremely high. Columbia County at 77%. In Taylor County, 75% of all customers without power right now. Lodi and Gilchrist County, 62%. Alachua County, notice as you get further south and east away from the storm center, less than 10% of you in Alachua County without power, so you're faring a lot better than areas just to your north and west. Madison County, 79% without power, no surprise there. The eye wall moved right over that area. Jefferson County, 76% without power. In Leon County, 39%. That's the Tallahassee area, so much lower amounts of people without power, again, further away from the center of the storm. Dixie County, 87% there. That includes the Horseshoe Beach area, and Levy County, 56% of those of you are without power right now. So right now we're taking a live look at the radar, and again, we do see things improving dramatically across the area right now. If you zoom in a little bit, take a look at some of the radar hits. The heaviest rain, obviously, now moving out of north central Florida into southern Georgia near Valdosta, up I-75 a little bit. We do see some dry breaks here through Dowling Park, parts of northwest Suwannee County. So hopefully with this drier air and the winds beginning to come down, those of you with a substantial amount without power, we can get those power trucks in, FPL, whatnot, and try to get things fixed. Of course, it could take a while. It depends on where you're located or how close the trucks are to you. We still see these flood advisories in effect. This, I believe, is a flash flood warning. Extreme wind warning still in effect for Madison and Taylor County until 11:15 this morning. Although the strongest winds have now lifted north and east of Madison, so I think that will be allowed to expire. Hopefully it expires a little bit sooner and they get rid of that. But still, it includes Lee, it includes the Madison area until 11:15 this morning. We do see flash flood warning still in effect until 12:45. Counties, this includes Haria, Monticello, and the Quitman area. Heavy rain still continues to rotate in around the western side of the center of Idalia. So again, a lot of heavy rain still coming across this area. We have had rain totals pushing 6, 7, 8 inches across this area. I mean, we take a look at our rainfall estimate here in just a moment. We did see rain totals highest in this area right here. But as we take a look, we sample these in just a moment or so. These are anywhere from 7 to 8 to 9 inches across this part of the area right now. Notice it's increased a little bit with more heavy rain, 6.8, 7, 7.5. So, you know, this is why we have this flash flood warning in effect. This is the rainfall over the last 12 hours. But we have seen rainfall totals within an hour period of 3 or even 4 inches in this area. Hence, that flash flood warning. And when it rains that hard, the water can come up pretty fast, especially in those low-lying neighborhoods. You know where you are. If you flood often, you're probably getting flooding right at the present time here. As again, this hurricane continues to head off towards the north-northeast at a speed of about 18 miles an hour. Further away from this, rain totals a lot lighter, basically in the 2 to 4 inch range. Associated with Hurricane Idalia. And then further off to the south and east, Alachua County, rain totals more like 2 to 3 inches. And another little maximum of rain down there towards the area north of Tampa Bay, 5.5 inches, 6.5 inches in that area, an inch to an inch and a half there down through Marion County, just to the southeast of the Gainesville vicinity. So widely varying rainfall totals across the area right now.
So, Michael, we have some first look right now of night and day video of Cedar Keys. So
coming
we'll
up, I
get
guess,
that up in just a moment. Of course, the Cedar Key area. Let's take a first look right now of the night and daylight video right there.
Coming up in just a moment. Yeah, okay, let's see. Waiting, it'll come. Maybe go to one of the cameras in a little bit of a moment.
Yeah, here's a look at where Cedar Key is. I mean, conditions have improved there.
Yeah, just dry, a lot of clouds, gusty wind.
Still have that onshore wind flow, though, right? So still likely going to see that small surge.
Still the surge, right, not as much as it was earlier today, but still that onshore wind. That would probably slow the surge from coming back out into the Gulf due to that brisk onshore wind there. Yeah. Cedar Key probably gusting between 40 and 50 miles an hour right now.
Pictures there. Here's
let's hear the quad cams, High Springs, Gainesville.
Yeah, Hawthorne there.
There's a look at Hawthorne. Yep, you probably have a band going through. The flag is straight out horizontal, indicating a wind gust there, probably a rain band coming through right now. And there's a look at Lodi Elementary School where it is dark and cloudy. But it's interesting, the flag goes up and down, kind of shows you an indication of the wind. And the tree is flapping around, looks like it's bending around a little bit there. So these are our quad cameras in the vicinity. Do we have the Horseshoe Beach one? Or maybe that's probably still stalled out.
That's likely stalled out.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we did see this earlier. Yeah, this is a surge probably a couple hours ago, but you can still see some parts of the island underwater in that area. UF cam.
Yeah, it went out. That was a time-lapse.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you get a lot of wind and rain. Some of these cameras just get blown over, or the electricity goes out, and the cameras are not supplied with electricity anymore, so you don't see an image, of course. But fortunately, we are seeing at least these images across our area right now, right? So there again is the track on Idalia. It's now down to a Cat 2 with top winds of 105, moving north-northeast at 18. The lowest pressure has come up some 22 millibars or more, up to 964 millibars. So, of course, as hurricanes move on shore, they're cut off from their fuel supply, which is the very warm water of the Gulf of Mexico in this case, where water temperatures are in the upper 80s. And once you move over land, you don't have that fuel. You're getting frictional impacts. So we continue to look at a steady weakening as Idalia once again continues to head off towards the north and also the northeast. Maybe we go down to those storm surge. We'll review that down there. Yeah, all the storm surge graphics
So
there.
here's what the forecast was for storm surge in this part of Florida. I don't know if maybe they adjusted this forecast. We manually adjust this forecast. They might have brought down some of the numbers in the past few advisories, but this is what we're looking at now.
There is a graphic where we have the NHC contours. I don't know, you're in my show. I think it's a little, yeah, right there, that one. Okay. This is usually updated by the Hurricane Center. Yeah, okay. And you'll notice, I think it goes in closer.
It's a different one. Let me pull up the one you have.
Okay. This is showing the storm surge is a height above ground of the water that comes in. Okay, so it shows you how high up that water comes into the area. And that one right there. Okay, we're pulling up here. So here you can see storm surge, Horseshoe Beach down to Cedar Key, could still be up to 10 to 12 feet in places. Again, we have that westerly wind pushing the storm surge that came in earlier and probably slowing the progress of the water coming back out until the winds come from another direction from land. So we can see all along this area anywhere from 10 to 12 foot storm surge, and we focus in the Cedar Key area. And we can see storm surge in parts of this area, 10 to 12 feet. There are areas with lower amounts of storm surge.
Let's see if I can bring this over to where landfall was.
Yeah, let's do that, right. Yeah, a little north, right.
In Keystone Beach, I'll bring up the labels so that we can see what we're looking at. And
anywhere you see storm surge above 6 feet, I mean, you can't really survive that unless you're lucky enough to be. I've seen other media outlets. There is one of them, Cedar Key, others, but they're like in a fortified structure, and they're on the second floor, and you go up another floor. So obviously you don't want to be in that area.
I think this is where the worst the surge was.
Right. So here, anywhere along this area, now we talked about 12 to 16. Well, here's your 12 plus here. That's in the red right along the coast. And the worst case scenario was the 16, but most of the area 10 to 12. And notice it's not right along the beaches. You know, there are a lot of bays and estuaries and rivers here, and that storm surge is going inland to some of the highways, perhaps 5 miles or more inland. As up to 361, you have an 8-foot storm surge in this area. Up through 51, you can see, I believe that's the Steinhatchee River, and the water goes way up there, well inland. And so, yeah, obviously the storm surge, not only just at the beaches, but several miles across the interior area, and obviously all these areas have been under evacuations. So we do have some video to show you right now as well. And this video is, where is this? Ooh, that is rough. This is Cedar Key. Yeah, thanks to Michael Baba for sending this in. This is obviously in the darkness before sunrise this morning, and this area getting hammered. I mean, yeah, the direct impacts. There is a look at the storm surge, and that gives you a good indication of it rolling across the beaches onto the roadways and likely flooding the first floor of that house you see there. And the water. So very, very scary. Here's another shot of it. And fortunately, this house is on stilts because the area underneath the house is getting flooded. There are some homes where they're up maybe only a foot or so, and they're just below. Now, not to say perhaps the storm surge is getting higher than this, but this is a very dramatic video of the storm surge in the Cedar Key vicinity. And you can see the water here. Some of these homes are not up on stilts, so the first floors are getting flooded. Hopefully we've got some porches underneath. All the roads here flooded. There is no way that folks can drive in that area unless you drive and then the car stalls out. So very rough. Storm surge has been the big issue with this storm so far. And likely we're going to be getting more and more video in to show you regarding the storm surge and some people that, you know, unfortunately, hopefully has lost their life. For the folks that decided to stay behind as Idalia makes its landfall on shore. So as of last check, the advisory at 10 o'clock, moving north-northeast at 18. Winds are 105 miles an hour with gusts to 160, 5 miles east-northeast of Madison, Florida at the present time. And we still have numerous flash flood warnings. in effect. Well, it looks like most of the, still one extreme wind warning left here for Madison and Taylor County until 11:15 this morning. Other than that, it's mostly flood warning. You're going to be seeing less extreme wind warnings as this storm continues to weaken. So the big threat here now ongoing will be the very heavy rainfall. Of course, still some hurricane-force wind gusts for parts of the area. Heaviest rain now north of the Florida-Georgia border,
Tiny,
up there towards Lake Park. We do see a tiny flash flood warning there now, again up there towards the northwest part of Jennings, and then up into southern Georgia, Valdosta, under a flash flood warning until 12:45. And also areas further east. Not sure what these counties are, but Dasher, Valdosta, Naylor, Barrett's, under that flash flood warning due to torrential rains continue to come into that area. Flash flood warning differs from just a regular flood warning because the rain is coming down very hard in a short period of time. Maybe in an hour you can get 2 to 4 inches, and that causes the flood, a flash flood, a quick flood to come up and flood roadways, neighborhoods, and even some houses, especially ones that are low-lying there. And then the heaviest rain, fortunately, moving north of I-10, that major thoroughfare from Jacksonville to Tallahassee, and it points further west along the Gulf Coast. Alachua County, bands of rain. It looks like the intensity's picked up a little bit in the Gainesville area. Looks like this is almost a little bit of a training band. You had one area go through, but more is coming in from the southwest. So this could add to some local ponding of water on the roadways in the Gainesville area. I mean, yellow is a moderate rainfall. It's not as heavy as areas further north, but still it's raining. It's raining hard. And we see some bands down across Marion County into the Ocala area. Here's a look at Levy County. Not a whole lot going on for you, which is good. Cedar Key, just mostly cloudy and very windy. Yankeetown, some rain. Dunellen, some heavy downpours. Further south into central Florida near the Tampa Bay area, some rain. And, of course, there's wide-reaching impacts. Orlando getting hammered. We see Sebring down to Fort Myers and areas to the north and west. We have seen tornado warnings here during the morning hours down across the southwest Florida coast. Right now, the southeast part of Florida just basically unscathed here. Vero down to Boca Raton, although some thunderstorms are firing up, moving towards the Lake Okeechobee area. So parts of southeast Florida will probably see some bands popping up in the heat of the day and the convergence. So there will be some storms down there, but not nearly the extent to the north and west. Look at how far this goes. Some of these rain bands all the way reaching out into the Bahamas. So this is a very, very wide-reaching storm. Here you go, 632 miles the diameter from the southwest part of the storm where the rain is up to the northeast. So over 600 miles being impacted by Hurricane Idalia, a very large storm, but fortunately a fairly quick-moving storm as it continues ahead to the northeast. I do see a tornado warning up there in southeast Georgia.
I think that was the one we were covering earlier near Savannah.
Yeah, so outside of the area, tornado warnings, sometimes, it's interesting to note here we have not had any tornado warnings in our area, even though we had landfall between Tallahassee and Gainesville, Madison County, Keaton Beach. It seems like the tornadoes with us are falling well to the east and northeast of the center. We had this happen yesterday afternoon. There were some tornado warnings in southwest Florida, even though the center is well out in the Gulf of Mexico. But we're still all under this tornado watch until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Chiefland, Bell, Lake City, part of the western area has been cut off from this area was originally under the tornado watch. Now it's the watch is further off towards the east until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Tallahassee, no tornado watch for you. Taylor County, you're not under the tornado watch. It would be this area right here which would be most susceptible to the tornadic activity. I mean, the watch goes south, and not out of the question that some of these bands rotating through could spin up a tornado, but the most typically in a hurricane, it's the northeast quadrant. So if you slice a storm like this where the center is, this area would be most likely susceptible to the formation of tornadoes as we go through the late morning and afternoon as it races off towards the north and also the northeast. And again, moving at about 18 miles per hour. Rain totals, let's see. We can call them up. Again, the heaviest rain total is right up there on the Florida-Georgia border. We've been seeing totals about 6, 7, 8 inches, parts of the area. Not the 10 to 15 that we had thought could occur, according to some of our models.
Here's the last 24 hours.
Okay, 24 hours.
Yeah, some of the heaviest around Madison County and Valdosta. Here's a look at some of those numbers.
6, yeah, 7,
8.
8.5. So we could see some, by the time the rains are over, we might see some totals in excess of 10 or even up to 12 inches in that area. Hence the flash flood warnings that continue for parts of that area.
Rain still to come. Still could see some lingering showers and storms likely through the end of the week, too, as we deal with the
that's true.
lingering moisture of Idalia.
Yeah, so this could be some indirect lingering moisture. How about just go to 11 o'clock today and see how much we get through the end of today?
Here is 2 a.m.
That's interesting. I mean, I think this is a little bit underdone. There's going to be a little bit more than this, but this shows large areas, no additional rain. Yeah, I'm not so sure I believe that. But we add in Friday and Saturday. Some parts of the area could see, and again, another 3 to 5 inches total across our area. And again, most of that rain heaviest right there along the path as we're going through the rest of the day.
I kind of believe it. I mean, looking at all the dry air just to the south of the storm, I mean, it's wrapping in very quickly. This is what is, it's the cold front that is pushing the system, moving the system into the Georgia and Carolinas, and luckily it's finally bringing in some of that drier air, wrapping in behind it. That's going to help lift the system away very quickly. It's an 18-mile-per-hour moving storm, so already in South Georgia.
Right, large dry areas. So, the worst obviously is over with this storm, which I think is good news. It was a quick hitter. The heaviest rainfall now again moving north of the Tallahassee and Gainesville area into South Georgia. The strongest winds are lifting away from the area as well. So again, we'll be looking at an improving trend as we go into the late morning, especially the afternoon and evening hours, and mid to late day, maybe even sooner out there towards the Tallahassee area or towards coastal Dixie County, you might be seeing the sun coming out. So cleanup efforts will certainly be underway full tilt, especially in the hard-hit areas of Madison and Taylor County as we go through the afternoon and evening.
You can see sun on.
So you see the sunshine already, across
over
parts of the Panhandle.
the Gulf of Mexico and parts of the Panhandle. That's going to move in very quickly. I mean, within the next 2 hours or so, we're going to start to see clearing skies, a little more sun. Still going to be hot, though, especially through the end of the week, of course. And we'll have to deal with some lingering moisture that could lead to some, lingering showers and storms across Gainesville and North Florida and the Big Bend area, too. And, I mean, even the impacts from Idalia, still going to see moisture moving into central and southwest Florida and along the west coast, too. All that moisture moving onshore, lingering behind it, is pushing, squally weather across central and even portions of southwest Florida, too. So Idalia, far-reaching storm, pushing heavy rainfall, some strong cells as well into the low country of South Carolina and into the low country of Georgia, too, near the Savannah area. We see an isolated tornado threat there. But, of course, some of the strongest winds close to the center of the storm is pushing into Georgia now. But as the storm weakens, some of those tropical storm force winds will move out along with it, too. So we're still going to see the threat for tropical storm force winds in parts of southeast Georgia and into the Carolinas over the next 24 hours. But, yes, improving conditions for the Big Bend region. We're talking about Taylor County, Dixie County, Levy County, though the weather is improving. We still have an onshore wind flow, so tides and that surge will linger around for a bit. So we're still dealing with high water levels across the Big Bend region. Might even see those water levels still elevated, even for areas like St. Mark's, St. George Islands, Carabel. Those communities might still see some high water levels, too. Of course, Idalia made landfall at about it was about 7:45 this morning as a Category 3 hurricane, and at this time, it's now pushing its way almost 4 hours now with continuous coverage, monitoring Idalia as it moves into parts of southeast Georgia, too. And you can see some of that drier air finally working its way behind. Still some lingering showers, of course, as we pull up the full radar scan here. But the conditions have really improved across coastal regions of the Big Bend. Still have flood alerts, though, for parts of Jefferson County, Madison County, and Taylor County through about lunchtime today, as we had very high rainfall rates across Madison County and in downtown Madison as well, up to about 10 inches radar estimated. So very high rainfall totals. This is why this flash flood warning will continue, and it might even lead to elevated water levels even in our rivers and streams, of course, too. So still monitoring the threat for elevated water levels and flooding, too, in parts of North Florida, of course. But notice where the center of the storm is, right over Madison and Hamilton County. You can see that little dry slot right there over Live Oak, Dowling Park. Now, rain is starting to wrap in behind that, so we're still going to see some lingering showers over the next few hours, but all that dry air located over the Gulf of Mexico is starting to help work this system into southeast Georgia. Still some outer bands, though, across Alachua County, north central Florida, too, still dealing with some of those outer bands, not quite as strong as the outer bands that we're monitoring in central and even a portion of southwest Florida, too. But here's a look at the Gainesville area. Some light to moderate rainfall moving through towards 441, right along I-75, but really just on and off shower activity, gusty showers, like we say. Some gusty conditions still expected for parts of north central Florida and even the Big Bend region, as we're still dealing with some heavy rainfall in some isolated spots. Let's pull up the latest on wind speeds and wind gust. This is a look at current wind speeds and current wind gust here in North Florida. Right now, Tallahassee still measuring a 25-mile-per-hour sustained wind with a gust as high as 44 miles per hour. In Apalachicola, 16-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Gust, that's about a 10-second gust time frame, about 32 miles per hour there in Apalachicola. And then in Crystal River, winds there right around 16 miles per hour, but gusting up to 25. And in downtown Gainesville, just got a new reading right there, a 44-mile-per-hour wind gust with a 51-mile-per-hour wind gust in Lake City as they're sustained at about 31 miles per hour. You can actually see on this reading where the center of the storm is. See where that blue turns into a more gray, right over a portion of Madison County. That's likely where the center of the system is. But we still have an onshore wind flow, still very gusty, especially along the coast of Taylor and Dixie County, too, as the winds are still pushing on shore, we still have elevated tides and even a potential small surge through the next few hours. So we still have high tides. It's the full moon phase. It is the blue moon. A blue moon is the second moon in a single month. So the blue moon, it is a super moon as well. So the kind of a closer moon, which is elevating the tides across the Gulf Coast. So it wasn't only the Big Bend region dealing with the higher than normal tides and the surge here in the Big Bend region, but even in the Tampa Bay area, a small surge was seen with the strong, tropical storm force winds moving into the Tampa Bay area as well. So still dealing with very high tide levels. We were looking at all that video earlier today that we saw from the Cedar Key area all the way towards from the Cedar Key area and into Horseshoe Beach, of all of that water that was inundating into our coastal communities. So if you have evacuated from those communities, maybe you're under those mandatory evacuations, it's not the time to head back right now. You want to wait until local officials give you the go ahead to head back to your homes, because water could still be over roadways. We could have washed out roads. We could have trees down, power lines down as well. So still dealing with some dangerous conditions. And even with when we see winds up towards tropical storm force, and even winds up to gusting up over a tropical storm force too, power crews can't head out until those winds come below tropical storm force. So power outages still ongoing and widespread at this time. And of course, when this portion of Florida, the Tallahassee area up towards north central Florida, our area has a lot of trees. So tree limbs will be down, likely going to see maybe some trees down as well in some areas, and even power lines too. So we are dealing with widespread power outages, but we have a lot of crews on standby, ready to head in from the government and from Florida, ready to head in and restore power when they can. So Cedar Key right there, sustained winds still at 40 miles per hour, and it's likely winds are still sustained. You see that little purple right there, still sustained, maybe anywhere from about 40 to up over tropical storm force, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds too. So pretty gusty conditions area wide. We'll take another look at the exact storm in 15 minutes. We'll get another update from the National Hurricane Center with the latest advisory from them. We get hourly updates. If you're just joining us, maybe you didn't hear this before, we get hourly updates from the National Hurricane Center once a storm moves onshore. So, and they essentially update the location, the strength of the storm, how strong the winds are, and they do give us some of the top wind gusts reported within the hour as well. So here's a live look right now at the exact storm. Again, the center of it, north of I-10 and kind of to the west a bit of the I-75 area. Heaviest rainfall right now over Valdosta, portions of southern Georgia, and even extending into parts of Leon County, still dealing with some moderate to heavy rainfall within that outer band of the outside of the center of the storm too. So here is a look at the heaviest rainfall moving into Valdosta. Still that extreme wind warning in effect. That's until 11:15. Again, I think the strongest winds now are moving into southern Georgia. So the extreme wind, we're talking winds over 100 miles per hour, likely not going to be a continued threat for the short term. We have flood warnings and flash flood warnings in effect. So when we get a lot of rain in a short amount of time, the rain can't really go anywhere. It might back up drains. It might back up some of the side areas, next to the roadways. They could be backed up with a lot of water, especially if we see a lot of rain in a short amount of time. So most of these areas have likely accumulated anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches of rain. We're talking about north of Valdosta. So that's why that flood threat is extending to the north. 1 to 3 inches of rain, and we're expecting additional amounts on top of that. So flash flooding is likely either ongoing or expected to happen in the north of this. We're talking about Moultrie, Berlin, where the new flash flood warnings have been. But in the Valdosta area, this area has been under a flash flood warning for the past hour or so, and we've seen estimated rainfall totals on radar of as high as about 10 inches of rain. So fairly high accumulation within the past few hours. This has been within a 3-hour time frame. So roadways are likely either experiencing flooding at this time or will likely see flooding too. And we have some rivers in this area as well. So rivers might be swelled as well because of this very strong winds. This is likely the Swanee River right here, which is why some of these rivers here might see some elevated river levels, especially on the outer banks of it too. So, and that extends into little streams as well. If you get a lot of rain, those streams can also swell and likely see the threat for flooding too. And we have some dry air working into parts of Live Oak, Mayo, but some heavy rain, some moderate rainfall now moving in from Taylor County, entering a portion of Lafayette County, and then eventually towards Suwannee County. Notice the movement of the winds coming in from the south across Lake City into portions of Suwannee County, Live Oak, into High Springs and in Gainesville, but then looking towards the Tallahassee area, winds are coming in out of the north. So we still have that wraparound moisture, which is why heavy rainfall is still ongoing for parts of the Leon County area, Tallahassee, and the I-10 corridor too. Multiple flash flood warnings are in effect. Do we have updated numbers for?
I think we got some updated numbers there, Jennifer.
Awesome.
I've got some actually some power outage numbers right now.
Good.
And we can see this is a percentage of the total customers out. And basically in Taylor County, 81% of total customers are out. Jefferson County, 76%. Hamilton County, 59% of total customers out of power right now. We also see that Alachua County, further south and east, faring a lot better. Only 10% of total customers are without power, so that is certainly good news. And let's see if we can pull up this power outage at the same time. Levy County, 56% of customers are without power at the present time. We're looking at Dixie County, 79% of people without power. Madison County, 82% of people without power right now. Suwannee County, 96%. So that's one of the hard-hit counties, including the Live Oak area. Union County, 25%. So a little bit further east, obviously the power situation is a lot better with fewer customers out. Bradford County, 14%. Columbia County, 76% of people without power. And Marion County, just 2%. And that's down south of the Gainesville area. So the further away you get, the better, more power on, the closer you get, the power outage is a lot more severe.
Let's bring up the latest advisory. It actually was just issued from the National Hurricane Center for Idalia. And the latest numbers, they say it's crossing in from Florida into Georgia now, so it's crossing the border. You can actually see that, see the center of circulation right there, just to the north of I-10. So 11 o'clock advisory, it's actually sped up, 20 miles per hour.
Good.
So it's moving away from our area at 20 miles per hour to the north-northeast. Winds are down now, 90 miles per hour. Gusts at about 115 miles per hour, and it's located to the south-southeast of Valdosta, Georgia, at about at 15 miles. So 15 miles to the south-southeast of Valdosta, Georgia. So it is a weakening storm, and we expected that. Once it moved on to land, it gets the friction of the land. It can't intensify any further, so it eventually will weaken. But as it weakens, those tropical storm force winds begin to expand out. And not only that, we got to deal with the heaviest rainfall, some of the strongest gusts moving into southeast Georgia and even the Carolinas. But notice all that dry air now working its way out of the Apalachicola area, working its way out of the St. George Island area, working its way out of St. Mark's, and eventually works its way out of Leon County in our area as the center lifts to the north. The heaviest rainfall, once again, on the north side of this storm. When we see a landfalling system, sometimes it pushes all that moisture to the north side or onto the other side of the storm, and that's what we're seeing right now. Drier air working its way behind, still seeing some light showers across Perry and even Horseshoe Beach. And mentioning Perry at this time too, let's take a look at this video sent in by a viewer from their backyard, and it's a tree falling in Perry. So you can see right there, trees, blowing around, very strong winds, and these are very tall trees, so they catch the wind at the, the stronger, the higher they go. And
bent over there, yeah.
Look at all of them bending over.
Snapped over. Couple, there's another one coming down right there as we speak.
And I think there's audio, so I shouldn't be talking.
Wow, look at those trees coming down. Olivia, Greg, thank you so much for sending this in. That's a pretty dramatic video. Yep, the trees can come down due to the wind. You can also have some of the water weaken the roots, and they can come down from the roots all the way over.
Yeah, so that's what we're, looking at when it comes to this part of Florida. There's a lot of trees around here, and when those trees come down, not only do they, could they come down on homes or mobile homes or even cars, but they can also take down power lines too, which is why we were tracking the numbers there for power outages. There's widespread power outages across the Big Bend area and north central Florida too. So the heaviest rainfall, once again, right over Valdosta. Likely some of the strongest winds as well, but winds now down to 90 miles per hour. So we're likely seeing widespread tropical storm force winds here across South Georgia as well. So still have some drier air working its way into areas like Sopchoppy, over towards the St. Mark's area as well, East Point, Carabel, and then towards St. George Island too, drying. We're finally clearing things out. We still have some power outages I reported earlier in portions of to the west of the Tallahassee area, of course, but some of the worst activity, some of the worst of the weather is in southern Georgia near the Valdosta area, where we've seen rain accumulation greater than 5 inches for the past few hours. So still multiple flash flood warnings in effect there, likely seeing water on roadways. So not the time to be on the roadways if you do live in northern Georgia. I know you do get into the Tallahassee viewing area there. If you do live in southern Georgia, not the time to be out on the roadways, of course. Stay home as long as you can, as flash flooding is ongoing or expected in this portion of Georgia and even North Florida as well. So it's a wide-reaching storm, not only impacting North Florida, but down into South Florida too. We have very strong wind bands. Let's focus on that for just a second. We have a lot of moisture that is kind of wrapping around the system and moving onshore. So notice the movement of these rain bands moving in from the southwest to the northeast, but the actual movement of the bands is starting to move, counterclockwise over the state of Florida. So these rain bands will move in, they bring squally weather for a short amount of time. One or two could produce a quick isolated spin up. You have that, easy rotation in the atmosphere, and an isolated tornado still possible within the Florida peninsula. And, tracking some showers finally moving into parts of the Treasure Coast and West Palm Beach. They really lucked out in this storm. The worst of the weather for portions of southeast Florida was along the west coast of Florida and into the Big Bend region. And then even into the Carolinas and southeast Georgia, they're going to start to see some of the worst weather move in. When we talk about the northeast quadrant, like Michael was talking about earlier, you get some of the worst tornado impacts there. We did have multiple tornado warnings right around the Savannah, Georgia, and into southeast Georgia. That's now been discontinued. But heavy rainfall moving into the low country as well. And they're starting to see that onshore wind flow. So some surge, maybe even elevated tides, still potentially impacting portions of southeast Georgia and the Carolinas heading through the next 24 hours because of this onshore wind flow created by Idalia. And if it stays overland, that surge will likely be a greater threat for the Charleston and even the eastern North Carolina region, as they'll deal with that onshore wind flow for multiple hours at a time. So depending on that track of the system, that could, determine what kind of flooding impacts or what kind of surge impacts they might see. But of course, it'll be a weakening system by then, moving into the Carolinas and southeast Georgia as a tropical storm.
We do have a FEMA spokesperson coming up here, Jennifer, Deanna Criswell, and she has more comment about the storm, if we can pull that up for a moment.
I think our biggest area of concern right now is, as this storm is moving inland, making sure that those people who did not choose to evacuate, that we have our search and rescue teams ready to support the state's already, really capable search and rescue teams that they have to go in and help support and help anybody that was stuck in harm's way, right? So that is our focus this morning, of making sure that anybody that was left in this area and needs help, that we can get in there. But I think my other concern, as you mentioned, is the storm continues to move inland, that the people in the path of this storm in Georgia, in South Carolina, that they still need to take this very serious. Even with the Category 2, that brings excessive winds, but it's also bringing rain. And we know that there's parts of Georgia and South Carolina that are prone to catastrophic inland flooding. And so people need to still listen to their local officials and listen to what they're telling them to do, to make sure that they're making sure that they can stay safe during this storm as it passes through.
So that was a FEMA spokesperson out there. Obviously good advice for folks. The storm, the worst weather's over with, but we still have several hours of bands of rain and gusty winds coming into the area. As we take a live look at some of our cameras there, let's look at High Springs, cloudy, a little bit of rain right now. Gainesville area, mostly cloudy, although skies perhaps trying to brighten a little bit there. Here's a look at Hawthorne, where you can see the wind kind of pushing that flag straight out there, indicating some very strong wind gusts out there. So far, the highest wind gust in the Gainesville area has been 49 miles an hour. That's it. And in the Lodi area, we still see some dark clouds and some rainfall as well. There's a close-up of the Hawthorne area, indicating strong gusty winds across much of Alachua County. Like Jennifer's been talking about, the system now pulling up there into South Georgia with an improving trend across our area, but we're still looking at bands of rain and heavy downpours and thunderstorms coming in from time to time. But the heavy rain again over with, large dry patches coming in. The majority of the rest of today will be dry, and it will not be raining out there across our area. So that's definitely good news. As of the latest advisory at 11 o'clock, moving north-northeast at 20 miles an hour, top winds down to 90. That's good news, down from the peak of 130 when it was in the Gulf this morning, down to 90. It's over land. It's suffering frictional impacts. It's beginning the weekend. It's cut off from its fuel supply, which is the Gulf of Mexico. Top winds were gusting as high as 160. They're now down to 115. And the lowest pressure, 971 millibars. The center of Idalia is 15 miles to the south-southeast of Valdosta, Georgia, with mostly light rain continuing across that area. There's that forecast track. Once again, a continued north-northeast movement, moving quicker now at 20 miles an hour, moving past Valdosta. It'll move past Hinesville this afternoon. By this evening, it will be there across extreme southeastern parts of Georgia and about ready to move into southwestern South Carolina. By 8 p.m., it's down to a Category 1, and then it skims the South and North Carolina coast, which are all under tropical storm warnings, by the way. So late this afternoon through early tomorrow, they'll be feeling tropical storm impacts in areas like Charleston, Savannah, Wilmington, and Topsail Beach, and areas like that. And then it just kind of meanders off to the east. Top winds no more than 50 to 60 miles an hour. So obviously some kind of shearing impacts preventing the system from intensifying any further. Computer models, again, in tightly clustered in good agreement here. So again, it moves off towards the east. Some models a few days ago hinted at perhaps a recurvature back to South Florida, but that is no longer the case, and we certainly don't expect that. Now, all along, we were expecting this thing to intensify. We didn't expect it to go to a 4, but it did, and that's due to this very, very warm water here across the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. Record warm temperatures out there. That's the fuel you need for a storm to intensify. We're also looking at the tropical heat potential through a deep layer of the Gulf of Mexico as well. And the shear along the path weakens somewhat. That's what all these orange and yellow colors are, that lighter twisting and turning of winds with height. So the conditions, again, were ideal for quick intensification, and that's exactly what happened. As it moves over land, though, in higher shear environment, again, it will steadily weaken as it moves off towards the east and southeast. We're still under a hurricane warning. Even though the threat for hurricane winds has pretty much gone way down, we still have this hurricane warning lasting from Sarasota through Tampa up through Gainesville, Lake City. Now, areas like Gainesville and Marion County and interior parts over our viewing area never got hurricane-force winds unless you were in a tight strip through Marion County and Taylor County and areas further northeast, but most areas not getting the hurricane winds. But just in case, you have to issue a hurricane warning for a rather large area in case there's any deviations in the path. Tropical storm warnings still persist for the east coast of Florida from Sebastian north. This includes Orlando, Daytona Beach, up through St. Augustine, Jacksonville, Savannah, and areas further off to the north and east of that. Tornado watch. Okay, now it's been dropped more. That tornado watch has been dropped for Alachua County, Sewanee, Columbia, Union, Bradford County. It's now for areas further northeast in Georgia towards the Jacksonville area. So this, again, indicating an improvement in our situation. The tornado threat has gone way down for this area for the remainder of today. For some reason, it's still in effect for Levy County. There are some bands still coming in from the Gulf of Mexico down across that area. Tornado safety. Go inside, stay indoors. For those of you in the northeast parts of our area that still are under the tornado watch, you want to go to the lowest floor, the center of the house, avoid windows if you can. If you're stuck outside, drive to a sturdy shelter. Find lower ground. Protect your head. Crouch as low as possible. Cover your head. Put a helmet on if possible. And never a good idea to be in a mobile home when you're under a tornado watch or any kind of hurricane alert as well. Still have the potential for the severe storm threat, but that again is going down for this area as well. That's lifting up into southeastern Georgia as we head on through the afternoon hours with a slight risk for that area. 1 or 2 tornadoes, reports of strong winds with potential wind damage. Hail, really not so much a threat during hurricanes because they are a warm core. Still have the flood watch in effect for much of the coastal parts of Florida here, but a large part of our area is now outside of the flood watch. Still in effect for Taylor County and Madison County, but areas like Gainesville, Gilchrist County, Sewanee, Columbia, Union, Bradford, you are now also outside or removed from the flood watch because once again those heaviest areas of rain continue on up towards the north of the area. Rainfall still to come for the next few days. Keep in mind, even though this system is over the Carolinas, sometimes you get these far-reaching tentacles of rain hundreds of miles to the south and southwest of a tropical storm or hurricane. And as a result, between now and the end of the week, we could be looking at isolated totals of 3 to 5 inches, mostly coastal Dixie and Levy County and areas south. Meanwhile, it's interesting further. an hour, not really a big deal anymore. Then later on this evening, those winds coming down to the 13 to 23 mile an hour range. Tomorrow, light winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour. These are the gusts, not the sustained. So winds virtually non-existent tomorrow, especially compared to today, it looks like. And as we go through the afternoon hours, we notice the winds, again, coming down. This is just another closer up graphic. 3 p.m., Alachua 31, 34 for Lake City. We move on to the early evening hours, again, 25 to 35 miles an hour and coming down as we go through the overnight period. As far as power outages, we talked about some parts of the area with power outages that are in excess of 70 to 80% across the area, especially across Marion County and Taylor County. We still see high amounts of power outages across this northern area, moderate power outages in this area through the early part of the afternoon. Power outages, not so much. Alachua County, no more than 11% of customers have lost power, so you're lucky there. And in the Tallahassee area, your power outages around the 10% area as well. Marion County, 2%. So areas away from the center have fared much better than areas that were right along the eye wall there. And for those of you that have lost power, or maybe you're listening to us on a battery-powered radio or whatnot, hopefully those trucks get out there soon and supply you back with your energy. Storm surge warning still in effect. Port Charlotte, St. Petersburg, Crystal River, Horseshoe Beach, Tallahassee, Port St. Joe. The storm's passed, but the counterclockwise flow has strong winds out of the west, still pushing the Gulf of Mexico right on towards the coast out there. And we had a forecast of 10 to 15 foot of storm surge in this area. But, of course, that will be coming down as we go on through the daytime. And here's a look at the Hurricane Center's latest storm surge forecast for the Cedar Key area. Still some areas of 10 to 12 feet. Again, due to that wind still pushing the water onto that island. Only one way to get on and off there, so hopefully most people have gone. So storm surge is the wind pushing against the water. It's the height of the water above ground. 3 feet, not a problem. 6 feet will go into your first floor. 12 foot of storm surge, unsurvivable. You might have to get on your roof. Fortunately, a lot of homes at the coast are located on stilts, and we'll pull up some of that video for the rest of the next hour or so and see that. But, you know, homes have to be very sturdily built and very high up to survive a storm surge this high. And if you do have this, obviously you're going to be stranded, not be able to go on the roads and get off the island or wherever you are. So this was some of the predicted storm surge. Time will tell. We'll see video coming in and reports of how high that storm surge has been. And these are earlier graphics of wave heights, which were 10 to 20 feet just offshore. Wave heights, though, even through this afternoon, here's 2:30, we can still see the waves of 8 to 10 feet just offshore the Gulf as far south as the Tampa area. Then we go through tonight, we see those wave heights coming down. But again, it's going to be a while before the seas and the surge subside, again, because the winds are still coming onshore here, pushing all that water up into the Gulf of Mexico. As far as wind speeds, latest wind speeds right now, Gainesville sustained 20, gusting up to 37. Lake City is sustained 31, gusting to 43. And Perry, winds gusting to 39. Tallahassee, 35. Apalachicola, a gust up to 29 miles an hour. So nobody in these stations here are reporting anything more than low-end tropical storm force wind gusts, which is good news. But again, we did have several reports of winds gusting into the 70s and 80s earlier today. And again, there is the storm track radar indicating that area of rain and storm is the heaviest rain heading on off towards the north. Let's zoom in on some of these flood advisories.
Actually, I have an update for the National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service, excuse me, out of the Tallahassee office. They cover the Valdosta area, include Lawrence County, and then Brooks County as well. They put a considerable tag on this flash flood warning. A catastrophic tag on it because people are being evacuated from their homes due to flooding. That is why, that flash flood emergency, of course, was issued for it, but still dealing with, extreme rainfall amounts and the flooding will likely linger even after, the rain clears out too. So, again, that flash flood warning was issued and
Lanier, Lowndes, and Madison County, right, South Georgia.
Yes, that flash flood warning. I'm trying to find the tornado watch so I can clear that out. And
oh, that's the tornado watch until 3, of course, right?
I'm trying to clear the tornado watch.
So yeah, this gives you an indication of as the heaviest rain in the center moves off to the north and east, flash flood warnings are continuing to be issued northeast into southern sections of Georgia. And some of you listening here on perhaps the
Here we
Tallahassee
go.
station,
See the
seeing that.
catastrophic tag on it? So
Yeah,
people
tough.
have been evacuated, evacuations going right now to try to get people out of their homes. But yes, there's excessive flooding occurring right now. And of course, when we were looking at rainfall totals, if you don't mind, I can clear that out.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, so Valdosta, Blanton, Lake Park, catastrophic flooding, like
Yes.
Jennifer's saying, with people being evacuated. This includes Barrett's, Naylor, and Valdosta. This is in effect until 12:45 this afternoon for this area. And this is part of numerous flash flood warnings. We've got one further off to the west as well. We'll call up some of these rain totals, and we can see, yes, again, this is the area where you see in red and maroon very, very high rainfall totals, probably even more than areas further south and west.
Yeah, this is a flash flood emergency, essentially.
Yeah, this is an emergency. So
and-
Dasher, almost 9 inches of rain, 7.6 inches there.
And this is within the last hour, Michael.
These are 1 hour rain
That's
totals.
what the rain total. So if I go back to 24 hours,
Probably not much different because
probably not much difference
yeah.
because most of the rain has been accumulating over the past hour.
last hour,
but
right.
I mean, look at this, almost 9 inches of rain. I mean,
That is catastrophic, right?
over a short amount of time, this rain has nowhere to go, but covering roadways and homes.
Yeah, covering roadways and homes, and of course, it's sometimes the drains get clogged. I've seen this in hurricanes myself. You get the leaves and the grass clippings, and all of a sudden, the water's going up the driveways and into people's homes. Sometimes even the sewer systems get overwhelmed, and even if you clear the drain out, then the water still accumulates. So obviously an emergency in this area of South Georgia, Valdosta, south through Dasher, and the Lake Park area with, again, radar estimate rain totals in the last hour of up to 9 inches in that area. So a tough situation, even though the worst weather has moved off to the north of Florida. Again, some of you are listening to us and watching us from South Georgia, so it is a very rough situation, again, with a flash flood warning for Brooks and Lowndes counties until 12:45 this afternoon, including Barrett's, Naylor, and also the Valdosta area. Further south and west, we see more flood alerts. We've got an alert out here towards the Empress area, just east of Thomasville. This is until, let's see if we can't pull it out a little east. This includes Quitman, Barwick, Pavo, and Boston. This flash flood warning also until 12:45, including the counties of Brooks, Jefferson, Lowndes, Thomas, Hahiro, Monticello, and the Quitman area. Heavy rain continues to come down. This area likely more than 6 inches of rain in the last few hours. Further off to the south, even in North Florida, we still have some flash flood warnings as well there to the north and west of the Dowling Park area as rain bands continue to spin counterclockwise around steadily weakening Hurricane Idalia as it moves to the north-northeast at 10 to 15 miles an hour. And away from the heavier and most concentrated flooding bands of rain, we're still looking at rounds of lines of squally rains coming through all of North Florida, some breaks, and then more of a concentrated area well down to the south and east of the center. It's a pretty strong band here, south and east of the Tampa area, moving towards Melbourne and the Cape, the Space Coast area right now. Even some bands of rain now across the southern sections of Lake Okeechobee as activity moves off from southwest to northeast. So this stretches from here, the northeast extent of the rain, down to the southwest band, more than 600 miles. So a far-reaching area of rain and thunderstorms continues as Idalia moves off to the north and northeast.
Exactly, Michael, and we've been monitoring, the heavy rainfall across southern Georgia too, and even the outer bands of the storm itself. We got that latest 11 a.m. advisory that was issued by the National Hurricane Center. They sped up. The storm has sped up. It's now moving to the north-northeast at about 20 miles per hour. So it's moving out of Florida, past the Florida-Georgia line, and into southern Georgia, where, of course, catastrophic rainfall is still ongoing for parts of the Valdosta area in Loudons County. And then we're monitoring the outer bands of the system moving into southern Georgia and into the Carolinas, too. Some heavy rainfall now moving into the Charleston area of the Low Country. And, of course, they still have to deal with the kind of onshore wind flow there, too. So that's going to increase their storm surge threat or even coastal flooding threat through the next 24 hours. But of course, we're starting to see some drier air working its way into the backside of Idalia, clearing things out for areas just to the west right now Leon County, Panama City, you've been dealing with some not too bad weather throughout the day, maybe some gusty conditions as well. And then even into parts of north central Florida through the Gainesville area, still dealing with some squally weather, some heavy rain bands at times as well. But the heaviest rainfall, like we've been talking about, in parts of southern Georgia, Valdosta, we're mentioning Loudoun County, especially to the southwest portion, to the southeast portion of Loudoun County. And if I can pull up this radar scan, we can see some of the heaviest rainfall, of course. So that extreme wind warning that was issued, that is no longer issued at this time. Still seeing some very strong wind gusts in excess of tropical storm strength. So we're talking about some wind gusts maybe as high as about 60, 65 miles per hour into parts of southern Georgia. But now monitoring just tropical storm force winds heading into parts of North Florida as well. So as we monitor, the flooding threat associated with that northern side of the eye of Idalia, producing extreme rainfall into areas of southern Georgia. Here's a look at about Naylor over towards Homerville, Pearson just south of there. You have a flash flood. Another flash flood warning has been issued, but the worst one, right, the most impactful flash flood warning currently is this flash flood warning in Loudoun County that includes the Valdosta area with a catastrophic tag on it because people have been, evacuations have been ongoing to try to get people out of homes because of this flooding that is ongoing in southern Georgia. So very extreme rainfall right now, just to the north side of Idalia. Here's a look at the center of the storm. It's right over Hamilton County. It's now entering. Fairly hot, fairly humid, even into the end of this week, especially across parts of north central Florida too, and we'll likely have to deal with maybe some lingering rain as well as we see some wraparound moisture move in towards the end of the week. But notice all that dry air working its way in, portions of Taylor, Dixie County, still improving, but the threat for life, the potential for life-threatening storm surge is still possible because we have this onshore wind flow along the south side of the storm. So you can see there sustained winds anywhere from about 26 to as high as 40 miles per hour in Cedar Key. Our Horseshoe Beach wind gauge site has actually come back online there. Sustained at 26 miles per hour, gusting as high as about 37 miles per hour. In downtown, in the Gainesville area at the regional airport, wind sustained at about 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 37 miles per hour. And in Lake City, we're monitoring winds there sustained at about 30 miles per hour, gusting up to about 43. And in the Tallahassee area, still a little on the breezy to gusty side. Winds right there about 22 miles per hour, gusting as high as about 33 miles per hour. Tree limbs likely down across North Florida. Power outages are likely across North Florida as well. We've been reporting on widespread power outages, with some counties reporting up to about 80% of their county without power. And until winds come down below tropical storm strength, power crews cannot go out and restore power. So still stay at home. Of course, wait until the bulk of the system has cleared out the area, and then we'll watch as, of course, restoration, of course, evaluating what damage has been left behind by Idalia as well. If you were in any evacuation zones along the Big Bend region, we're talking if you were in an evacuation zone near Taylor County, Dixie County, Levy County, now is not the time to return home. You want to wait until local officials give you the go-ahead to go back to your home. On the way there, they're still dealing with storm surge at this time, still dealing with elevated tide levels too, but the roads there could still be inundated with water. The roads there could be washed out if they're close to the coastline. And of course, we still have to deal with down power lines and tree limbs too. So not the time to be going back. You want to wait until local officials give you the okay to head back. Even in Central and South Florida, the outer bands of Idalia still impacting portions of the state with heavy rainfall across the Tampa Bay area, into Central Florida, around Orlando, and even some heavy rainfall working its way into Southeast Florida too. Now, when we were forecasting for that storm surge earlier, the worst of the storm surge was likely going to be around Horseshoe Beach, portions of Taylor County, of course, where landfall occurred in the southern part of the county, Cedar Key, Yankeetown, and even to Crystal River, still likely experiencing elevated tides and surge. So that onshore wind flow behind the system still working its way in, so tides will still be elevated even in some rivers and streams too. And then the latest on Idalia, we got at the 11 o'clock update. Here's a look at the latest numbers. Moving to the north-northeast about 20 miles per hour. Winds there about 90 miles per hour with gusts as high as 115. Most of North Florida likely just dealing with tropical storm force winds, even less than that for some communities too, with gusts as high as maybe 50 miles per hour for some communities still. And of course, the worst of the weather that moved through, we were talking about the Taylor County area, from landfall near Keaton Beach all the way through the Perry area and then towards portions of North Florida. We're talking Dowling Park, Jasper, Madison, heading through Lake City. Some of the strongest winds and wind gusts were reported there too, and along the coastline as well. So let's get the latest on the track right here. It'll eventually continue to weaken and move into southeast Georgia, maintaining that Category 1 strength, but then eventually becoming a tropical storm as it pushes its way offshore and then ending up towards Bermuda, likely through the weekend. So that's the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center for Idalia. Of course, alerts here are still in place for north central Florida. Hurricane warnings still in effect for Taylor County, Dixie County, Levy County, through the western portion of Marion County, and then tropical storm warnings for the first coast of Florida, through the Space Coast near Daytona, and then inland towards central Florida, of course, as well. Now, the tornado watch has been discontinued for most of our area, except for Levy County and Madison County, as well as further south into parts of central Florida and in East Florida. We're still going to see the outer bands produce maybe an isolated spin up, but that threat is steadily decreasing at this time. Flood watch still remains in effect. We've been dealing with catastrophic flooding, of course, in parts of southern Georgia and North Florida too, and the strongest winds, of course, still moving through North Florida and into southern Georgia as well. Winds across the area sustained anywhere from about 15 as high as 30 miles per hour in Lake City, as high as 37 miles per hour in Cedar Key. So that winds are coming down in the Cedar Key area at this time, and even near Crystal River, winds are sustained at about 10 miles per hour, gusting up to about 22. So conditions are improving here in north central Florida and the Big Bend area. We will continue to see conditions improve as the day goes along. If we pull up our futurecast here, we can show you what's expected throughout the rest of the day. And we'll get a live big clear look on this. So the center of the storm moving into southeast Georgia, the heaviest rainfall along the northern portion of the center of the storm. We'll still see some outer bands work its way through Alachua County and the Gainesville area, some heavy rainfall at times as well. And then we're clearing out by this evening. Look at this. Here's about 4 o'clock. Could see some sun in Taylor County, Dixie County, and even into Leon County near Tallahassee, St. Marks, Crawfordville, down into Wakulla County. And then finally, as we head through the overnight hours, we will start to see some of the cloud cover move out and some of the heaviest rainfall clear most of north central Florida. But some lingering shower activity could continue through the end of the week as we still have moisture that will work its way behind Idalia. Here's some of the central Florida area. Look at those strong bands moving onshore. Of course, the heaviest rainfall now moving through Sarasota County, through Bradenton County and Hillsborough County, that's in the Tampa Bay area, and then working its way across central Florida through Highlands County, Osceola County, and towards Brevard County as well. Most of the rain is moving from the southwest to the northeast, but the bands themselves are moving from west to east. So very strong storm still. It's still a Category 1 hurricane with winds right there, with winds at about 90 miles per hour. But most of north central Florida, we're beginning to see those conditions improve through the lunchtime hour. The heaviest rainfall, though, again, in parts of southern Georgia. We have extreme rainfall ongoing for parts of Loudon County and Brooks County. Multiple alerts in effect for southern Georgia, Moultrie and Idalia, Barrett, Homerville, Tifton, still seeing heavy rainfall. Quitman and Empress, Lake Park, and Valdosta has seen the very intense rainfall, and a flash flood warning is in effect for their county because of this catastrophic potential for flooding in that area. We have had reports of people people being evacuated from their homes because of the rising water, because of so much rainfall in such a short amount of time. Let's look at these rainfall totals. This is when the past 3 hours here in this region. Within the past 3 hours, we have seen rain accumulation as high as 10 inches for some spots, 9.4 inches just north of Dasher, and this is over I-75. This is a high traffic area for trucks and vehicles moving from Florida into southern Georgia. So it's likely that I-75 is experiencing some, flooding on the roadways. Wouldn't be surprised if we pull up, you know, a 511 camera or something, and you see the extreme rainfall on in southern Georgia because of the flooding along I-75 in southern Georgia because of this extreme rainfall. So a flash flood warning is in effect for the Valdosta area. We're talking about Loudon County along I-75, near Dasher, and of course near southern, just to the north, Clydeville, Brixton, Pinetta, Lake Park. And if we pull up radar, we can see where the heaviest rainfall is falling right now. Conditions are expected to improve, though, as the storm lifts to the north. So already near Valdosta, rainfall is beginning to lighten up, but we're still seeing some heavy rainfall over Valdosta, over Barrett's, over Hahira, over Dasher, Lake Park as well. We're looking at, you know, extreme rainfall and the threat for flooding continuing over the next few hours as that flood warning continues through the lunchtime hour. And even look at the bigger picture of the storm. I mean, only 4 hours ago, we were tracking the system making landfall along the coast of Taylor County as a Category 3 hurricane with winds of 120 miles per hour. And now we're tracking a Category 1 storm. So within a few hours, the storm has weakened, and it also has moved inland. But you know, over the next few days, we're going to monitor what kind of impacts we've seen here in north central Florida and the Big Bend region when it comes to storm surge, wind impacts, and of course power outages too, as we were tracking plenty of trees down across portions of North Florida and the Big Bend region. I'm pulling up some of the reports. So the National Weather Service in Tallahassee has put out some local storm reports, and they reported that a 67-mile-per-hour wind gust was reported at the Valdosta Regional Airport, and that was at about 10 o'clock this morning. At about 11 o'clock this morning, a tree was reported down on a house in western Cook County. That was in Georgia. And then in Thomasville, Georgia, a 46-mile-per-hour wind gust was reported as a mesonet site in Thomasville. And if we look at Redland Station, this is in Loudon County, a 73-mile-per-hour wind gust was reported at Redland Station there. Not unsure if that's an elevated station or not. And in Madison, Florida, a mesonet site reported, that's a WeatherSend site in Pinetta, reported a gust of 69 miles per hour. And in Jefferson, Florida, a mesonet site, that's a WeatherStem site, reported a wind gust of 67 miles per hour there. It's been reported in Lanark County, Georgia, that a roof was taken off of a gas station on Main Street, Lakeland, and still monitoring for any local storm reports that the National Weather Service and local emergency management officials have been releasing. So, the storm, although it's starting to lift out of the area, we still have some hazards in place. Hazards includes downed trees. They include water on roadways with flooding. It also includes power outages as well. We're talking about the threat for power lines being down, taking out power for a couple days, if not a week or so, because it does take time to put those power lines back up, especially if you have widespread power outages across a portion of North Florida, Big Bend region. There are crews on standby, ready to go in after the storm clears out to put up those power lines again. But we've been reporting on some counties that have had up to 80% of their county without power. So the storm rolled through. It produced very strong winds, took down power lines likely, and of course left other impacts too. We're talking extreme storm surge along the coast of Taylor County, Dixie County, and even Levy County as well as a result of Hurricane Idalia, which made landfall at about 7:45 this morning as a Category 3 hurricane. And it is now moving into Georgia. So within the past 3-4 hours, we have finally seen the storm make landfall, move through North Florida, and is now entering southern Georgia. So it's a very fast-moving storm. Like we were reporting at the top of the hour right there, it's moving to the north-northeast about 20 miles per hour. When we're talking about a storm moving this fast, the impacts come quickly. They come devastating, especially at the coastline and for any areas that are still dealing with excessive rainfall. But it does clear out quickly, and we will see conditions improve as the day goes along, especially through this evening. Still have to deal with some of the outer effects as well, outer bands moving through the Tampa Bay area, some heavy rain bands. But the worst of the weather in North Florida is now behind us, but we're still dealing with some pretty devastating impacts in southern Georgia when it comes to rainfall, especially around the Valdosta area. And as this storm continues to weaken and approach the Carolinas, all of those impacts will move along with it. And we're starting to see some drying conditions just to the west right now of the Leon County area. Michael, do we have any reports?
We do. Yeah, let's go over some of the reports there, Jennifer. We're still in the continual coverage here for Hurricane Idalia for at least another hour or so till 12:30, and then the governor has a press conference which will be coming up at 12:30. So we're going to make sure that we join that in progress as we head on through the rest of the early and mid part of the afternoon. So we're taking a look at the storm right now, okay, and I'm just going to kind of run down some of the reports here for you. As of the last check, some of the peak wind gusts that have been so far recorded across the area. Horseshoe Beach at 81 miles an hour, Cross City at peak wind gusts so far today at 40, Lafayette County and Mayo 73 miles an hour, Dixie County at Old Town Elementary at 54 mile an hour wind gusts. Killer in the States, that's also Leon County, winds gusting to 53, Madison County at 57, and Taylor County, Bouquet Junction 85, Keaton Beach at 77, and Wakulla County at 58, Appalachia Bay, winds gusting on up to 60 miles per hour. And in the Gainesville area, so far the highest wind gust at the Gainesville Regional Airport, only 49 miles per hour, so that's low end tropical storm force. And at Tallahassee, the highest wind gust 46. So those of you in the major population centers here, you're getting off pretty easy here with nowhere near hurricane force winds. But again, that narrow strip across parts of Taylor and also Madison County in the South Georgia, you did experience hurricane force wind gusts and rainfall totals approaching 8 to 10 inches in some parts of the area. And as of last check, according to our power outage map, which includes FPL and other power companies, this is the percentage of customers without power. In Suwannee County, it's a whopping 96% of you without power right now. In Columbia County, 77% without power. Taylor County, 75% of you without power. Gilchrist County is at 62%. Alachua County, only 9.5%. Obviously a hardened structure there, and with winds no more than 49 miles an hour, not much of a big issue with power outages there. Madison County, power outages at 74%. Jefferson County, 76% of you without power. Leon, 39%. That's the Tallahassee area. Dixie County, not so good, 87% without power. And Levy County at 56%. And some other peak wind gusts we see as of late. We'll go over those in just a moment. Again, as we continue to watch the storm move on off towards the north and also the northeast. Let's take a look at the radar here. We are checking out, again, numerous areas of rain and heavy downpours, but again, the majority of the rain is off towards the north and northeast of the area, but we still have these rounds of rain, bands of heavy rain and downpours coming into the area. The most concentrated rain, though, has lifted up there towards the Valdosta area at the present time, where there is a flash flood warning, numerous flash flood warnings. First off, we do have one in Brooks and Lowndes County until 12:45, including Barrett's, Naylor, and Valdosta. Catastrophic flooding in this area. Rain totals have approached over 9 inches in places, and there are some water rescues going on in that area. A bad situation there. Again, they're calling it catastrophic. We do have a flash flood warning in effect for that area further north and east. Henderson still, 8 Miles still. Lanier County, a flash flood warning until 1:30 this afternoon. This includes Lakeland, and the threat there is considerable. And finally, in Atkinson and Clinch County until 1:15 this afternoon. This includes the city of DuPont, 1.15 inches of rain in that area. So a kind of review of how much rain we've seen. As we take a look here, this is rain totals. We're going to call up the rain totals since the storm began in this area, and I'm going to go back just for the last. Let's go back for the last 12 hours to see total rainfall in this part. Again, this is as estimated by radar. Okay, and the worst area, of course, southeast Georgia, Valdosta area, Dasher. We're seeing some purple showing up at this area. So we can see 8.9 inches there northeast of Dasher. Southeast of Clyateville, 8.7 inches of rainfall. Further off to the northeast, in Indianola, in that area, seeing some heavy rain as well. Estimated 6.3. Valdosta Town Center, 5.8. So widespread 5 to 9 inches of rain in that area. And west of I-75 in the Clyateville area, some extremely heavy rainfall as well. Again, we still have these flash flood emergencies persisting across a good part of that area at the present time, with, again, the rain bands further off towards the south and east, some moving through the Alachua County area, Gilchrist County, Levy County. We also continue to see bands of rain through Ocala, and a pretty decent band of moderate to heavy rain there moving through the Tampa Bay area, kind of outside of our area, but again, it shows the far reach of Idalia there, and now some thunderstorms firing up in western parts of Palm Beach County and western sections of Martin County at the present time. We continue to see more and more storm reports, wind and rainfall reports coming into the area right now. Here's a look at some of our storm reports, and you notice it is steadily filling up here. Let's take a look. We've got one in the Gainesville vicinity. This is probably a wind report, it looks like. Thunderstorm wind gusts of 51 miles an hour at UF. So there's a report there. We go further off towards the east over there in, I believe it's Putnam County. We see a bunch of reports closer to the coast there. Palatka, a 47 mile an hour wind gust. Over at the coast, Palm Coast, 40 mile an hour wind gust. Over there towards the first coast, Jacksonville at the airport, 48 miles an hour. And Mayport, 46 miles per hour. So just low-end tropical storm force, fortunately, for that area. Further off towards the north, we are seeing other storm reports out there right now. Again, we kind of showed you the Jacksonville area. Now going into South Georgia, we are seeing reports. There is one of the flood reports we've been talking about, flash flood, I-75 at exit 11 miles north of the Florida border. We're also seeing there across extreme southeast Georgia, a funnel cloud in Kingsland near St. Mary's, a thunderstorm wind gust of 44 miles an hour, Country Club Estate, and further up there between Idalia and Savannah, heavy rain in the Nevels area. And then as we head off towards the west, out there towards the Panhandle, not as bad in that area because they're further away from the storm center, but Panama City and Magnolia Beach, a 45 mile an hour wind gust. We see a 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts at Marietta Municipal Airport. And again, due to the far-reaching impacts from Idalia, we've also seen some storm reports down across central Florida as well. We'll take a look at some of those. The report of a tornado in Avon Park, unconfirmed right now, and thunderstorm wind gusts of 46 miles an hour in Fort Drum and St. Lucie Airport. That's down across South Florida. And up there near the Space Coast, LaGrange, a 52-mile-an-hour wind gust. And in Orlando, near Orlando at the Kissimmee Airport, 46. And a thunderstorm wind gust at Longboat Key, which is one of the barrier islands there, west of the Tampa-St. Pete area, winds gusting on up to 56 miles per hour. So we still have a lot of rain and wind to go through the afternoon and also the evening hours, as our radar continues to show bands of rain coming in from southwest to northeast throughout the afternoon and also the evening hours. Here's a look at the hour by hour. We're going to kind of move this forward a little bit and to the present time. Let's go ahead to, let's say, 1 p.m. A few bands of rain coming in, but again, large dry slots as well. We're going to go a little bit forward ahead here to 3 p.m. Some spotty showers and storms moving through. There's a look at 3 this afternoon, but most of the heavy rain is north and east of the area. Some rain still in the Gainesville area, up there towards Stark, towards Putnam County, and towards the Jacksonville area. By 5 p.m., it is partly to mostly sunny across all of the area. In fact, completely sunny, Gilchrist, Dixie, and Levy County. This will really enable this area that's been hard hit to get some relief in there and to get some cleanup efforts underway, and hopefully for the power companies to get in and turn the power back on, where, like I said, parts of these areas, I believe it's Dixie County, Marion County, in excess of 80% of the customers without power. There's a look at 7 p.m. tonight, and we're seeing the clouds still across eastern sections of Florida, but mostly sunny again. So it's going to be a nice end of the day. You will be able to kind of clean things up a little bit. We go through the overnight. Skies will continue to be fair to partly cloudy out there. High temperatures, if we get the sun mid to late afternoon, could pop near the 90-degree mark as we take a look here. And again, this graphic shows it pretty well. While we've got the morning rain out there, we do have the afternoon sun coming into the area with temperatures low 80s to upper 70s. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the 90-degree mark out there. And the rainfall chances will continue to go down. Tomorrow they're down to 64%, a little less than 50% Friday, and then much lower as we head on to Saturday, Sunday, and also on into your Monday time frame out there. So, yeah, the weather, again, a quick improvement trend in the days ahead.
You okay, Michael?
Yeah, well, a little accident. We're doing good, everybody. All right, so.
Hey, Michael, we have damage video from Perry sent in, likely by a viewer.
Oh, let's take a look at the damage video.
We're going to pull that up with the latest there. Yeah, look at that. Roof torn off in one of the buildings.
Wow.
And
Yeah, look at that. Storm chaser video. It looks like we've got a part of a roof taken off. We've got some insulation from the roof that is off as well. Very gusty winds in the Perry area. Again, this is one of the areas. Look at that. Trees snapped off. Numerous trees snapped. I mean, boy, that could be a tornado there. I'm not sure. I mean, we see a lot of snapped trees.
Well, if it's straight line, it looks to be fairly straight there. So
a lot of trees snapped in that area. And again, in the Perry area, we had winds gusting up to 80 to 85 miles an hour. Numerous trees down. Again, some of this storm chaser video coming in. There's a tree on a trailer mobile home. Obviously, you know, we always say you don't want to be in a mobile home during a hurricane. So we do see a lot of damage. That's the Perry Cove mobile home and RV park. So, yeah, very rough damage. Oh. And then there's a McDonald's sign about ready to come over there. Yeah,
wow,
dramatic.
That's some intense wind right there.
Intense wind, yeah.
I mean,
and there it is. It's coming off.
Oh, there we go.
This video is going to go viral. Yeah.
This is where the extreme wind warning was issued. This is type of hurricane force winds that can tear apart a McDonald's sign like that. Look at that.
Yeah, of course that McDonald's sign is obviously elevated. So because the sign's elevated, it's going to be subjected to some of the stronger winds, 10, 20, 30 feet up there. And
I have a new wind report. The AWAS station in Moody Air Force Base actually reported wind gusts of 64 miles per hour, and that's in Lattice County, Georgia, so near the Valdosta area is where Moody Air Force Base is.
Okay, so the wind gusts, yeah, they still continue to come in, those wind reports, and you can see the damage that those winds do to a McDonald's sign in an RV park. Yep. So pretty rough out there today. Speaking of the wind, let's take a look at what some of the wind estimates are by radar right now. And we are seeing the Tallahassee radar, and we're seeing areas up towards the north and the northeast Valdosta area. Winds not as strong as they were earlier today, but nevertheless, wind estimated aloft. Winds up to 63 miles an hour out towards Thomasville, 67. So we're still seeing strong tropical storm force winds a little bit above the surface, reaching down. Surface winds could still be in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range across that part of South Georgia. So still very windy, and even across the area near east of Tallahassee through Taylor County and Madison County, we're still seeing some modest winds as well. Brighter colors, the stronger wind gusts. And we are seeing Shady Grove, 47 miles an hour. There's a look at 46 there. In a day, we see winds of 55 and 47 there. So mostly winds in the 40 to 60 mile an hour range, along where winds were over 80 miles an hour earlier today. And then further east, let's see if we've got some radar estimate of winds in this vicinity as well, in the Gainesville area. Obviously a 60 mile an hour. We've got 63, so it's still very windy across the area.
And it's likely taken at a higher elevation with the radar scans. So when you bring that down to the surface, maybe
there's probably 20%
50
adjustment.
mile per hour
The radar
winds,
beam goes aloft, so these winds could be a few thousand feet above the ground. So, but we still have seen winds. We'll take a look, actually, some surface obs here. We'll take a look at some of the winds across the area, wind speed and gusts right now.
So we're about 15 minutes away from the new advisory from the National Hurricane Center. That'll come out at noon. And then, of course, the governor speaking at about 12:30 as well. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, advisory coming out soon. So Gainesville sustained 20, gusting up to 37 right now. Lake City 24, gusting to 44. So that gives you an indication. Radar estimated winds in the 50s and 60s, but surface ground truth more like the upper 30s to mid 40s across the area. Tallahassee sustained 22, gusting to 33. Lake City sustained 24, gusting to 44. And down at Leesburg, 31 mile an hour wind. So it's a windy day. These kinds of winds are not damaging, but like we showed you in that video earlier, we have had a lot of damage for parts of the area out there. So we're going to continue to keep you posted on that. And as an aside, as we're waiting for the new advisory to come in, I want to advise you about other things going on in the tropics. You've got Hurricane Franklin. This is to the 160 miles northwest of Bermuda. Franklin is moving northeast at 13 miles an hour with top winds of 105 and gusts to 125 with a pressure of 961 millibars. Now, fortunately, Franklin is a fish storm and will continue to move further and further away there as Cat 2 now. It will move out into the Atlantic in between the Azores and Atlantic Canada as we go on through the early part of next week. And we've also got Tropical Depression 11 out there, and that thing has top winds of 35. But due to very hostile conditions, this thing's expected to weaken shortly and will really not be a problem for just about anybody out there. So that is certainly good news out there, right? Here's, again, another live look at our cameras. Where we still see a lot of clouds. Gainesville, you know, it's darker clouds on the left side there. Again, we still have some rain bands coming through the Gainesville area now. High Springs, dark and murky. Hawthorne, that flag is going up and down, you know, with the wind. Again, winds gusting in this area, mostly still between 35 and 45 miles an hour at the present time. The Hawthorne area, again, there again is another look at that flag flapping in the wind at the present time. All due to, again, a lot of the rain and wind across the area. Of course, we still have that tornado watch in effect for just a part of the area. Most of the tornado, actually the tornado watch is gone for most of the area. It's just south Levy County and areas further off towards the south and also the southeast at the present time out there. So here again, the radar showing the latest rain bands rotating through north central Florida and also Georgia right now. The heaviest rain continues up there through Valdosta, up there to west of Waycross, where we still have some flood emergencies in effect for that part of the area. Still have another flood warning in effect. The only part left in Florida is extreme northeast parts of Florida, and this is in effect for Brooks, Jefferson, Lowndes, and Thomas County, 12:45. So that's in effect for less than an hour from now. This includes Ahira, Monticello, and the Quitman area for those of you that are watching on our Tallahassee station today. And still some light to moderate rain. Tallahassee east through I-10, Capitol Circle, Woodville getting some rain. Wadesboro, a little bit of heavier rain coming in from the northwest right now. We're on the back side of Idalia. And then up there towards southern Georgia, Calvary, Reno, Cairo, we're seeing a little bit of rainfall as well. And that extends into Madison County, mostly light rain and sprinkles, very gusty winds still. Shady Grove seeing some rain now, Perry, Athena, and again, part of this is still under that flash flood warning. Areas further south, including the Dixie County area. There's Taylor County. Keaton Beach, of course, is where landfall was made earlier today. And there, of course, is Dixie County with just a lot of clouds and a few sprinkles. That's it for those of you in Cross City and Jena and Tennille. Further south, Levy County, a few little light showers here or there for Beatree Ford, Bronson, Otter Creek, and Chiefland. And again, you're still under the tornado watch. Not sure why that's occurring. Then further off to the north and east, again, Alachua County. A lot of you watching here on CBS 4 and NBC 9. You're seeing some occasional periods of rain coming in the Gainesville area, hence that darker shot in the Gainesville cam. Santa Fe, High Springs. We're also seeing some showers up there towards La Colosa and the Island Grove vicinity. And again, far-reaching heavier rain and storms far away from the center there across central Florida, Tampa Bay area. Of course, the storm surge in Tampa Bay not as hard or not as high as was forecasted, most likely in the 4 to 6 foot range, but we are still seeing some bands of thunderstorms there moving through that area. So if you've got travel plans down I-75 today, later on, keep in mind you're still going to be running into these bands, and they can be very heavy with some strong wind gusts, even as far south as Tampa, Bradenton, Venice. Up there towards the Sebring area, we're seeing some rain activity. Fort Myers, a thunderstorm line coming into that area right now, and also some storms beginning to fire up in southwest Palm Beach County, through Belglade, up there through the Martin County vicinity. So again, it continues to move east. In fact, we're seeing even some indirect impacts all the way out into the Bahamas. So a far-reaching storm, Idalia is.
Look at that. There's a tornado warning in the Low Country. Is that what that is?
Oh, yeah, another tornado. It looks like a tornado warning is up there. I just posted there.
That's in Charleston County into Dorchester County in the Low Country. I used to work in the Charleston area. I kind of know the area.
Yeah, she knows. Yeah, Jennifer knows. Yep, yeah, so tornado warning, we're in the area. So again, these bands far away. Again, that's in the northeast quadrant of the storm where you usually get most of those tornado warnings. So everything continues to head off towards the northeast.
And again, we still have hazards when it comes to the storm as well. Even though conditions are improving, there's an onshore wind flow still along the Big Bend region and elevated tides, so surge is still a concern even through the lunchtime hour and into this afternoon. We have trees down across North Florida, the Big Bend region, power outages widespread, and the roadways might be covered by debris too, so not the greatest time to be on the roadways. And we still have flash flooding ongoing in southern Georgia, Valdosta, over towards the Thomasville area, still monitoring some heavy rainfall as well just to the north of Tallahassee. But the heaviest rainfall still in southern Georgia. We have flash flood warnings ongoing for the Valdosta area, Loudoness County, and even in portions near Nashville, in Georgia, Barrett's, Barney, Moultrie, Adele, Trifton. So, very heavy rainfall still ongoing. And this is over a very high traffic area of I-75. I-75 essentially connects this portion of North Florida, North Central Florida, with the southern Georgia. So a very high traffic area when it comes to driving, especially with trucks and just people driving their vehicles in general. So not the time to be on the roadways at this moment in this part of southern Georgia. Near Quitman, we're starting to see maybe some heavy rainfall moving in within the next couple of minutes or so. And even in Spain, still monitoring heavy rainfall. Let's get some rain totals on here and see what kind of rain totals we were seeing. We had estimated rainfall totals as high as 10 inches for some of these spots on radar. So these are radar estimated totals, but we have had reports of evacuations going from people from homes in parts of the southern Valdosta area and in Loudoness County because of the flash flooding that was ongoing. So we had up to 9 inches for that area just north of Dasher, just about 8 inches south of Claytonville, and right along I-75, likely seeing anywhere from about 6-7 inches of rain, even as high as about 8 inches of rain right along I-75. So flash flooding was ongoing in this area over the past few hours, and this is rainfall totals only within the last hour. So extreme rainfall totals in a short amount of time. The water has nowhere to go. It ponds up on roadways. It ponds up in the storm drains and even in the drains that surround roadways as well. And that can lead to, some pretty devastating impacts, maybe moving into people's homes as well. Madison, about 7.5 inches of rain. This is in Florida. So in Madison County, Florida, just north of Pinetta, right? Pinetta. It's a tough one to say. 7.3 inches right there, and in kind of an area between US 90 and State Road 53, though there's no town right here, saw about 7.5 inches of rainfall. That's kind of to the south and east of Maysland. So, extreme rainfall only in the past hour, and this is the kind of hazard you see in a landfalling hurricane. Very intense rainfall within a short amount of time, and it can be very isolated. We saw all that rainfall right there in Madison County and through the Valdosta area. Meanwhile, look at Gainesville, maybe accumulation of about 2 inches of rain for the past couple of hours, through the past hour or so, about 1.5 inches of rain in the Cross-City area right along US 19. But of course, some of the strongest winds with Idalia that when it moved on shore impacted this US 19 area. And I've driven through this area. There's been a lot of trees here. So likely going to see trees on roadways across parts of North Florida, into the coastline of the Big Bend region, and even towards the Tallahassee area. I saw video on social media of a lot of tree limbs on roadways as well. And it's typical in Tallahassee, if you get a really strong storm like this, it's likely you're going to see trees down and tree limbs down across the county there in Leon County. It's a lot of trees in this region of Florida. And then even in portions of southern Georgia, the heaviest rainfall right around 5 miles still. And then this is all spreading north towards I-16 in central Georgia. Near the Macon area, they're starting to see some of those rain bands roll on through. In Atlanta, some lighter rain starting to move on through as well. So the storm, as it moves, it brings its impacts with it, and we're going to see those impacts spread across parts of southeast Georgia and even into the low country of South Carolina near the Charleston area. But of course, starting to clear things out just to the west of Tallahassee and Leon County. Look at the outer kind of upper level cirrus clouds with the higher level of the storm there on our satellite loop. So you can see clear conditions near Montgomery, and then cloudy conditions kind of near the Air Force base that is in Columbus, Georgia there, and the Army base, near Columbus, Georgia there. But the heaviest rainfall in southern Georgia near the Valdosta area, just north. Frequent lightning, heavy rainfall in this region, moderate to heavy rainfall as well. And you can still see the eye, somewhat of an eye, with Hurricane Idalia. Still a Category 1 hurricane as of the 11 a.m. advisory. In about 4 minutes, we'll get a new advisory from the National Hurricane Center if it has not. Oh, it's already come out.
Well, that's new. Yeah, you go. It's early.
Noon, north-northeast still at 20 miles per hour. Still a Category 1 hurricane with winds right there of 85 miles per hour. And it is currently to the east-northeast of Valdosta, Georgia, about 25 miles to the east-northeast. So you can see the center of Idalia. It has now moved into southern Georgia from Florida. We still have the southern portion of Idalia that's going to continue to lift through. Still see some rain activity, but overall conditions will continue to improve over the next couple of hours as Idalia clears out. Now I want to point out over the Gulf of Mexico right here, we have some thunderstorm activity that's beginning to bubble up. We still will have some lingering moisture behind Idalia, not only for today, but through the end of the week too. So we're not going to see very dry conditions through the end of the week because we still have to deal with some of the lingering moisture in north central Florida. So elevated shower and maybe thunderstorm chances still possible through tomorrow and even to Friday as well. Pressure has gone up, 975 millibar right there with the noon advisory from the National Hurricane Center. And again, Idalia quickly racing to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour. It will enter southeast Georgia. It is entering southeast Georgia right now and will move towards the Carolinas through the day today. Maximum winds right there, 85 miles per hour. Idalia will eventually become a tropical storm as it exits the Carolinas and enters the Atlantic Ocean, moving over the Gulf Stream, and then maintaining its tropical storm strength as it approaches Bermuda through the weekend. So we don't have to deal with Idalia for long, but we still have to deal with the impacts that left us here across North Florida and the Big Bend region. Idalia, of course, brought storm surge, extreme rainfall to portions of southern Georgia and Madison County here in Florida, and also the high winds, of course, like we were watching in Perry, take off a roof from a home, as well as pull down trees in that area, and even tearing apart the McDonald's sign in downtown Perry. So here's a look at a flash flood warning still in effect. We still have some high water levels potentially in the Perry area around Taylor County, north of into Taylor County near Greenville, Madison, I-10. Flash flood warning still ongoing, so we still could see some water on roadways, of course, maybe some water in low-lying areas that cannot drain as fast. And then we have a flash flood emergency ongoing for Valdosta, Dasher, Lake Park, up into Loudoun County because of extreme rainfall over the past 3 hours in this area. We've seen rain totals as high as about 9.5 inches for this area. On our radar estimated rainfall totals of as high as about 9.5 inches. Now, the heaviest rainfall now moving out of the Valdosta area into southern Georgia, moving towards Pearson, Homerville, and you're now clearing out Dixie, Union, Alma, Douglas, Willacoochee, all seeing heavy rainfall now moving into southern Georgia. But in our area that we monitor here for the Tallahassee area, Thomasville, some break in the rain, but some moderate rain could wrap its way back around. In Tallahassee, we're finally starting to clear things out. Look at this. Around downtown Tallahassee and Leon County, starting to clear things out right around the downtown area as the heaviest rainfall now moves to the west, to the east of Capitol Circle along I-10 there, even down south into St. Marks, Wakulla County, and the Crawfordville area, Sopchoppy as you're working your way south towards St. George Island, starting to clear things out right along US 98. And then over towards the Gainesville area, still dealing with some outer bands, of course, working their way through, but light to moderate rain, still very windy across the area. We have winds sustained anywhere from about 20 to 25 miles per hour with gusts even as high as 45 miles per hour for some spots. Let's bring up those wind speeds and see how strong the winds are currently across North Florida. Lake City still has a sustained wind right now of 23 miles per hour, gusting up as high as 51 miles per hour. Our Horseshoe Beach meter there came back online. 26 miles per hour sustained wind, still gusting up to 37 miles per hour. 36 mile per hour wind gusts still in the Gainesville area, 29 mile per hour wind gusts in Tallahassee, but you can kind of see where the strongest wind is and where winds are beginning to decrease. In North Florida and southern Georgia, this is where the strongest winds are near the Live Oak area, moving into southern Georgia. And then winds are beginning to decrease around the Crystal River area. Still have some gusty winds across portions of Taylor County and Dixie County, and it's an onshore wind. So that onshore wind is still pushing some of that surge onshore. So we still have elevated tides, coastal flooding ongoing as Idalia works its way to the northeast. In Tallahassee, notice the blue and the gray here. That's starting to see decreasing winds. So Panama City, winds have gone down and now only sustained about 15 miles per hour. In Apalachicola also, too, gusting up to about 25 miles per hour. So breezy one to the west of Leon County. Still a little gusty in Tallahassee, but really the strongest wind gusts now across north central Florida, the Gainesville area, and it's a Crystal River too. And that onshore wind flow is still pushing the water onto the coast, so we still have a life-threatening surge that is ongoing across the coastal areas of the Big Bend region in Taylor County, Dixie County, and Levy County as well. But the heaviest rainfall now is some of our biggest threats currently as Idalia works its way north. We still have heavy rainfall in southern Georgia, the Valdosta area, and Thomasville. You're about to see another small rain band move in as well. but really light rain, some quick showers, quick gusty showers working its way through parts of Lafayette County, Suwannee County, down towards Gilchrist County, Alachua County, Union, and Bradford County as well. So still dealing with some effects from Hurricane Idalia, but most of that impact starting to move offshore right now. Let's see some of those highest rainfall totals of the past few hours in southern Georgia, of course, and the Valdosta area reporting within the past 6 hours of rain totals as high as 9 inches for some spots just north of Dasher along I-75, the Valdosta area, and into southern Georgia as well. So very isolated area. I mean, when you pull this back and look at all the rainfall totals, it's a very isolated, concentrated area of very heavy rainfall that was on the northern portion of that eye wall. And we saw all that rain in one spot and not so much rain in other areas. And of course, we saw very strong winds move through parts of Taylor County, Madison County, and all across north central Florida. We saw very strong wind gusts for today. So as you take a look at your hour forecast, here's what you can expect through the afternoon today. We're going to start to clear things out. Even as far west as Mariana and Weehawken and Apalachicola, some sun is finally returning currently. And then as we head through the noon hour towards about 1 p.m., most of that shower activity, the gusty showers, will start to move towards the first coast of Florida, towards Jacksonville, and some sun finally works its way into parts of Tallahassee, through Jefferson County, eventually towards Taylor County, Dixie County, and Lafayette County, starting to see more sun. Still breezy to gusty as well. And we're going to stay breezy to gusty through the evening as Idalia works its way to the north. So some good conditions for us, but we still have to deal with what Idalia left behind in the way of storm surge, likely surge along our coastal communities, leading to coastal flooding. We have to deal with inland flooding, the after effects of the inland flooding across Valdosta, freshwater flooding from rainfall, and then also have to deal with the lingering effects from the wind, too. Wind brought down a lot of trees. It took down power lines. It also took down power lines and trees to topple over on cars, vehicles, homes, mobile homes as well. So all of that we'll have to deal with today. And once the winds begin to calm down, we will start to see those emergency crews finally going in and assessing the damage and also restoring power, too. So you can see here on one of our on forecasted wind gusts right here. So wind gusts will still remain, this was from a few hours ago, wind gusts, it will still remain gusty in some spots, as high as about 34 miles per hour in the Cal area, as high as 41 in Cedar Key through the lunchtime hour. And then we'll start to see those wind gusts calm down. Now, once we get those wind gusts and sustained winds below tropical storm force, that's when those emergency crews or power line crews can go in and start restoring power. It's going to take some time, though, because we have a lot of trees across North Florida, the Big Bend region, and north central Florida. And we've reported on a lot of counties that have seen as high as 80% of their county without power. So once these wind gusts calm down, power crews go in about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Calm wind conditions across the Big Bend region and into north central Florida. Some of the strongest wind gusts now moving off the coast of the North Florida near the Jacksonville area and the Space Coast. And then maybe some breezy conditions by the end of the week, but really not expecting, strong winds like we saw during Hurricane Idalia. So as we go back to radar now, we're going to see where the heaviest rainfall is currently accumulating in southern Georgia. Let's get the latest on the storm as well. We had that 12 o'clock advisory that was issued, so if you missed this about 8 minutes ago. The latest on Idalia, the center of the storm has now moved into southern Georgia. The heaviest rainfall and the strongest winds still across portion of southern Georgia. It's now moving to the east of I-75, but the heaviest rainfall now pushing towards the I-16 corridor as well. So we're starting to see some dry air working its way from the backside of the system, and that's going to help to clear us out as we head through the afternoon. Winds right there at 85 miles per hour. Remember, it made landfall near Keaton Beach in Taylor County as a Category 3 hurricane at 7 o'clock this morning. So within the past few hours, as it's moved on shore, it's weakened as it does. But as it does, it expands that tropical storm force wind field. So we're expecting those tropical storm force winds to even expand out into parts of southern Georgia over the next couple of hours. And pressure has gone up, and again, moving very fast. It's a quick-moving system. If you remember last year with Hurricane Ian in southwest Florida, it was a slow-moving storm as it moved onshore and pushed through Florida. So we had to deal with the impacts for hours at times. Here in North Florida, it's a fairly fast-moving storm, so the impacts moved in and out very quickly, but of course, it left some catastrophic and even devastating impacts behind in the way of storm surge, flooding, and of course those wind effects and power outages too. Now looking ahead towards the Carolinas, what can they expect? Well, some heavy rain bands now moving in could produce some isolated tornadic activity through the Grand Strand of South Carolina and eventually towards the eastern North Carolina. And of course heavy rainfall too. This red area just to the north of the center of the storm is where the heaviest rainfall is being produced. So that isolated band of rain will continue to move through southeast Georgia, and that flood threat will move towards just north of the Savannah area and eventually into the low country through the next couple of hours and into this evening too. Notice the center of the storm. It was to the east-northeast of Valdosta, Georgia. That is now moving to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour. So a very quick-moving system. Only a couple hours ago, made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane with winds sustained at 125 miles per hour. And hours before that, overnight it strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane. So it actually weakened just before landfall, but even then, it was still a major hurricane, and it still brought us the impacts of a major hurricane here in North Florida. Storm track radar continues to keep the heaviest rainfall into parts of southern Georgia, now approaching the Waycross area, Alma, Douglas, and Pearson. We're starting to see the eye move over Homerville, and you'll see a clearing in the sky, and then eventually you'll see another round of rain move in behind. But you'll also notice the difference in wind direction. Notice the storm. So a hurricane moves counterclockwise. It's how a low pressure system moves in the northern hemisphere. And the wind coming in from the Gainesville, North Central Florida area is coming in from the south. It's drawing in all that moisture along with it too, and producing those outer bands, those kind of quick-moving, gusty showers. And then on the other side of the storm, on the west side, notice the wind direction, this storm activity, that's moving from the north. So we have a north wind flow behind it, a south wind flow ahead of it, and you can see the spinning of the storm itself, the center of the eye right there just to the east of Valdosta, and then the heaviest rainfall moving in from the north. So with that northerly flow across the Tallahassee area, it's kind of a shift in our wind throughout the day. We were going from a more west wind flow through the morning hours and then eventually through with a north wind flow as well. So we have some more reports here, power outages.
A bunch of reports here. The latest power outage statistics just moments ago. Our Florida tracker map. Jefferson County, you're still 76% without power. Taylor County, 81% without power, very high. Dixie, 79%. The highest looks to be Sewanee County, 96% of customers without power, and that was right along the path of the storm as it moved through northeast Florida later on during the morning hours. Levy County, 54% without power. Alachua County, doing very good there, 9%. Winds only gusting to 49 miles an hour at the Gainesville Regional Airport, so you got off pretty easy there. Gilchrist County, 47% without power. Lafayette, 77% of customers out of power. Madison, 82%. And Columbia at 80% without power. And some recent storm reports from ham operators and various folks chiming into the National Weather Service. Trees and power lines down at Georgia 221 in Lowndes County. Down trees and power lines. This is Ray City there in Barron County, Georgia. We had 2 semis rolled over at the Sunoco at the I-10 Lee exits, all right, semi. So obviously some very strong wind gusts there. Trees on power lines with a fire at in Worth County, Georgia. And Moody Air Force Base, we had a 64-mile-per-hour wind gust out there. So a lot of storm reports throughout the area as we have gone through the afternoon, the late morning, and also on into the afternoon hours. And of course, we've got some cameras to show you right now as well. And we're still taking a look actually at Fort Cameron's High Springs, still a little bit of rain there. Gainesville, some rain as well. Lottie, dark skies. Hawthorne, that flag flapping in the wind as well. But it looks like it's trying to brighten for parts of the area. It already is out towards the western area, south and west of the Tallahassee area. And there again, another live look at the Hawthorne camera out there. So Idalia continuing to move off towards the north and northeast at the present time at a speed of over 20 miles an hour. This is the latest. Let's check. Idalia is 25 miles east-northeast of Valdosta, Georgia, moving north-northeast again at 20, and again that weakening, 85 miles an hour. If you were with us at the start of the broadcast this morning at 7 o'clock, we had winds up to 130 as a Category 4. We've weakened all the way down to Category 1 status, so that's certainly good news as the Idalia continues to work its way inland. Wind gusts now up to 115. They were up to 160 earlier today. The lowest pressure was in the low 940s, now up to 975 millibars. So it is weakening, but there's still a lot of gusty winds and a lot of heavy rain, especially for the north sections of Georgia out there. And there again, that forecast track moving off to the north and northeast. It'll be off the South Carolina coast. Probably by later today or into early Thursday morning, and then continuing to meander further on off towards the east and also the east and southeast at a very, very rapid clip. So still a lot of tropical storm warnings in effect for that area. In fact, here's a look at our watch and warning graphic here. We are looking at the hurricane warning, which has now been lifted for a good part of the west coast of Florida. It still includes it looks like the Dixie County area and Taylor County north and northwest, but hurricane force winds are really not going to be a consideration for the rest of the day. A lot of times the Hurricane Center will keep the warning up for many hours afterwards just in case that we do see some hurricane wind gusts, but most likely not. All areas now out of the tornado watch. That is certainly good news throughout the area. Storm Prediction Center, let's take a look at some of this. And we're still seeing still the chance for some scattered strong storms coming through parts of the area this afternoon. But again, even that possibility is down, but it's not zero. So you still have a chance for isolated strong storms across the area. And the flood watch in effect for parts of the area, but again, mostly coastal areas of Dixie, Levy County, up through Perry County, Taylor, and Madison County, and areas further off towards the north and also the north and east. And again, of course, we continue to see rain totals going down across the area. In fact, here's a look at some of the additional rainfall expected through the next several days. Still could be some isolated several-inch totals, but as far as the rest of today, throughout the period between now and about midnight tonight, very little. Most areas seeing a quarter of an inch or less due, again, to those the rapid movement of the storm system off towards the north and also the northeast. Here's a look at our hour-by-hour wind gust forecast to give you an indication. We're going to push this forward to the present time here. So there's a look at noon. We go ahead to 1 o'clock this afternoon. We see winds still gusting mostly into the 30s, 37-mile-an-hour gusting. Gainesville, 38 in Live Oak, 47 for Glen St. Mary, and 41 for Lake Butler. Let's go ahead to 3 o'clock. Winds now down to between figure 25 and 35 miles an hour across the area. We're going to go ahead to 5 o'clock, which is the evening commute home, or even 6. Winds mostly below 30 miles an hour in gusts, but still out of the west-northwest. It's still a little bit breezy. Still got to be a little careful if you're driving on open roadways. And then by 9 p.m., winds under the 20-mile-an-hour threshold out there. So we continue to see, again, improving trends across the area. Here's a look at some current wind gusts and speeds as we take a look at our graphic right now. It's coming up in just a moment here. And we do see those winds mostly between 25 and 30 miles an hour sustained. Right now in Gainesville, a 22-mile-an-hour gust wind sustained, gusting to 36. Lake City, still pretty windy for you. 23-mile-an-hour wind sustained, gusting up to 51. Perry, a 31-mile-an-hour wind gust. Crystal River, 25. Tallahassee sustained 23, gusting to 31. So for most of the area, it's just kind of a very breezy, if not windy day. Again, windier as you get into extreme North Florida and also the southern sections of Georgia. Here again, the radar, where we continue to see ongoing flooding across extreme North Florida and South Georgia. So in the North Florida area right now, we are still seeing a flash flood warning in effect.
So I can give an update for Florida State University in Tallahassee. The campus officials there say that all FSU students, the threat has passed for the Tallahassee campus, and all FSU students, faculty, and staff should continue to exercise caution, but report any previously undiscovered hazardous conditions on campus. So, of course, report to local officials if you see any trees down or any other hazardous conditions like power lines, of course. But the Tallahassee campus now seeing clearing conditions there in Leon County.
Yeah, that's good. You know, those of you in the Tallahassee area, you got it pretty easy. Winds no more than 50 miles an hour in that area, with rain totals about 2 to 4. So the all clear, like Jennifer said, up there at FSU, which is good news for you. But further to the east, we're continuing to see, once again, some of these flash flood warnings that are in effect right now. Boyd, Perry County, Madison, Tyler, until 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're also seeing a flash flood warning further north, Brooks, Jefferson, Lowndes, Thomas. Some of that, most of that's in the Georgia area, and further north and east, where we're kind of seeing the center of the storm going through right now. We still see numerous flash flood warnings. Notice some of the reds are continuing to lift north and east of the way, but still very heavy rain this afternoon. Valdosta up through Idalia, Douglas, New Lacey, Waycross area, up to McRae. So that's where the worst weather is for those of you that are watching or listening to us in parts of South Georgia. And a large part of that area is still under that tornado watch this afternoon as the storm continues to move off towards the north and also the northeast. Further south, we're looking at some bands of rain coming through the Alachua County area right now.
And I have a UF
mostly
update.
light rain there, Gainesville up to Waldo and Stark. High Springs seeing some areas of rain as well. We're also looking at some rain and downpours through Gilchrist County, Sewanee and Columbia County. Mostly light to moderate rain, but still some downpours across parts of southern Columbia County there. And we're talking about north of High Springs and Mason and the Fort White area and areas further south and east into the Lake City area. And again, we've got the heavier rain further off to the south and east across central parts of Florida. I guess got some more information on that.
Yeah, I had an update from UF. The leadership will assess damage to the campus through the morning and make an early afternoon announcement regarding any sort of reopening plans. So keep an eye out for that from the UF.
That's good. Yeah, students out there, you know, first few weeks of school, kind of tough to have a hurricane to deal with, but you got to do whatever you got to do there, right? So here's the hour by hour. There's 1 p.m. We still see some, again, bands rotating through, but again, each time the band comes through, it's not as heavy, it's not as long lasting. And it's still pretty gusty with some of these rain bands. You can still get 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts through at least the early mid-afternoon with these bands. Here's a look at 3 p.m. We see light rain, some downpours again. Most of this in northeast Georgia. The sun's coming out shortly for just about all of the area, and it will come in from west-northwest to east-southeast. Throughout the afternoon hours, you'll see that sun, the clearing line coming in. That's going to be definitely good news for those of you that do need to clean up, and for those of you in those hard-hit areas across the area near Gainesville, and also especially between Gainesville and Tallahassee, where again the weather has been very, very rough out there today. We have seen numerous storm reports throughout our area today. I'm trying to pull this up in just a moment here. Some of these storm reports, had winds gusting 40, 50, and on up into 60 miles an hour out there. So as we again go throughout the daytime, we are looking at a steady clearing trend across the area. Again, we still have, the tornado watch for parts of the area today. But again, this is now out of the area. No more tornado watch, excuse me. We still have the potential for isolated severe storms, but again, not really much of a big threat at the present time out there. And of course, we are awaiting a press conference from Governor DeSantis. He's due to speak at about 12:30 this afternoon, and we will be carrying that live for you here as we continue to follow this storm for you. We've been on here since 7 o'clock this morning, and we appreciate all of you that have been watching on CBS 4 and NBC 9 in Gainesville and the NBC affiliate in the Tallahassee area. We continue to kind of continue to give you information out there throughout the rest of the day. And again, the hardest hit areas of power are going to be in Columbia County, 80% customers without. Madison County, 82%. Sewanee County seems to be the worst with 96% of customers without power, 81% in Taylor. So numerous counties, most of the area, more than 3/4, knocked out without power, no air conditioning, no way to cook, no way to put your lights on. Hopefully we're getting those crews out there and we can get the power restored to you. The utility companies can get the power restored to you in a very, very short period of time, as again, we will continue to see improving trend in the weather for this afternoon. Jennifer's got more information.
If you needed information about airports, the Tampa International Airport will allow arriving flights to arrive only at 4 p.m. today. And the Tampa International Airport sustained minimal damage from Idalia. Departing flights and normal operations will resume tomorrow morning. And please, if you have any flights from the Tampa area, make sure you check with your airline for the latest updates. And at the Gainesville airport, the latest from them was 4 hours ago. They said their terminal will be closed until 5 p.m. Still uncertain when they will resume flights from the Gainesville airport. And there has been no update from the Tallahassee airport as well. So here's the latest from Idalia as of that noon advisory that was issued. Still had winds at 85 miles per hour, now an 85 mile per hour sustained windstorm. That hurricane is a hurricane, a Category 1. So it's moving quickly to the north-northeast at about 20 miles per hour. It's been a fast-moving storm throughout the morning. Moved in, brought its impacts with it, and is now moving into parts of southeast Georgia. Look at that eye kind of expanding. The eye is where you have the least amount of rainfall and the least amount of wind within that storm, and it's now moving into southeast Georgia, but all the heavy rainfall and even lightning activity associated with it is located to the north. Now, pressure did go up at the noon advisory, of course, and it's located to the east-northeast of Valdosta, Georgia. Here's a look at the latest on radar with Hurricane Idalia. And again, the heaviest rainfall has been in the extreme North Florida in Madison County, and then into southern Georgia near Valdosta, Loudons County, and in southeast Georgia, southeast Loudons County as well, to the south of Valdosta near Dasher and Lake Park. This is all over I-75. We had rainfall accumulations as high as about 9 inches within an hour time frame. So when you get an extreme amount of rain like that in a short amount of time, it can produce life-threatening flooding. So that's why the National Weather Service in Tallahassee issued a flash flood warning for that area, and even designated it as the potential for catastrophic flooding as well. Most of the rainfall in that area has finally cleared to the north, and again, the center of the storm located right over southeast Georgia. Heaviest rainfall still moving into parts of southern Georgia and into southeast Georgia, with some of the outer bands impacting South Carolina and South Florida too. Now, we're still seeing some dry air working its way behind Idalia, but the winds are still gusting right now, especially at the coast. And until we get sustained winds below tropical storm force, that is when emergency crews and power line crews can go out and restore power to these areas. We have a lot of trees down across North Florida. We have a lot of water on roadways as well, especially in those flooded areas of North Florida and southern Georgia. And of course, we had to deal with storm surge along the coastline, some coastal flooding still impacting parts of Taylor as well as Dixie County too. So you can see wind speeds right now ranging right around 26 miles per hour, sustained winds in Horseshoe Beach, gusts as high as about 37 miles per hour. Even in Tallahassee, still a little gusty, a 23 mile per hour sustained wind as high as 31 in Tallahassee, 31 mile per hour gust in Tallahassee, and still breezy in Panama City and down south towards Apalachicola, as high as about 26 mile per hour gusts right there in Apalachicola. Near the Jacksonville area, winds have been picking up over the past hour or so, now up to 45 mile per hour wind gusts there, 33 in Lake City, but the strongest winds now moving into southern Georgia, where the center of the storm is moving as well. But notice the wind direction. We have a south wind flow across Gainesville and Alachua County, and a north wind flow from the Tallahassee area, and an onshore wind flow as it wraps its way around the center of the storm. A low pressure system in the northern hemisphere works clockwise around a low pressure area. So And so that is all pushing onshore. So, of course, we still have the threat for a small surge and even coastal flooding across Taylor County and parts of Dixie County, as well as into Levy County, Cedar Key, Horseshoe Beach. All these areas are still under the threat for some low-lying surge in this area. And the National Hurricane Center was forecasting the potential for surge as high as 11 feet in parts of these areas, including Horseshoe Beach area and across parts of southern Taylor County, where, of course, landfall was near Keystone Beach. So one of the rivers there, the river in Taylor County, actually had a reverse flow as a result of the storm, and all that water is being pushed into the river there, and of course impacting those areas too, inland along the river as well. So some of the strongest surge located in that red mark, really the surge of water is just a push of water on shore from the wind of a storm, and that surge even extended down towards the Cedar Key area and even into Yankeetown, where coastal flooding did impact those areas. And even the latest on, at the 12:30 hour, the latest on Idalia, still a Category 1 hurricane with winds right there of 85 miles per hour. You're taking a live look from the Emergency Operations Center. I believe this is in Tallahassee. Governor DeSantis is going to have a press conference here within the next few minutes with the latest on Idalia, what it means for Florida, what kind of impacts he likely say has happened, and maybe even what kind of efforts are going to be made to help with recovery efforts, and of course evaluate the storm damage from the Idalia over the next day and even over the next weeks, of course, and months as we watch this system. So again, the strongest of the storm right now, the center of the storm has moved into southern Georgia. So the storm is moving away from the Big Bend and North Florida. We will see our local area conditions improve through the afternoon. I'll bring up the futurecast here so you can see what we can expect through the day on that other camera there. You know, the center of the storm will move into southeast Georgia, and we're going to start to see clearing conditions across North Florida and parts of the Big Bend through the day. All right, here's Governor Ron DeSantis. We'll take him live now at the Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee, Florida.
The eye of Hurricane Idalia has left the state of Florida. The state is still being impacted by the storm's bands, and we're seeing that particularly in the northern part of the state. So far, there have been 262,000 accounts that had lost power have been restored, and there are more than 250,000 accounts that are currently out of power and in need of restoration. As you'd imagine, the counties that have the highest percentage of power outages are the counties that were in the main pathway of the storm. Counties like